Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan,
Chris,
Lee.
It's the summer break.
It is, but we're
No
doing.
F1 for another 2 weeks.
Yeah, but we're doing okay.
It's
We're
only
doing
2
all
weeks.
right.
It's just a race problem.
We've it's just a race problem. Taking it to the extremes, isn't it?
Are we not doing the alt-right podcast?
We've just had the biggest Formula One hype event of the year.
Yeah, hype. Would you like more hype?
What? Lewis taking a selfie of himself in his selfie lift wearing dungarees?
If only.
No,
it was-
that's a Monster thing.
Oh, right, okay.
Hype sponsor Force India.
Yeah. Oh, so what have Force India done?
Nothing. But Renault.
I did read some news about Renault.
Yeah, there was a test last week. It's not really news, although we haven't had a podcast since it happened
No,
to
because
discuss
we
it.
record on Mondays, and
They tested Tuesday
Tuesday
and Wednesday.
Do you know what? I literally, up until a second ago, you completely fucking lost me, and I didn't know what the fuck we were talking about.
I'm not surprised.
It's Kubica, isn't it? That's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, right.
No, it's Nicholas Latifi.
Well, Nicholas Latifi did a lap of, what was it, like 1 minute 20 on Tuesday, and Robert Kubica's time was like a 1:18.5 on the Wednesday.
Something like that. Yeah.
Again, let's not get too carried away, as I said on the Facebook chat, because we don't know what configurations they were running, whether Latifi might have been testing new parts. You know, Kubica may have just been
It
there.
does
You
seem
go
to
out
have
and
gone
show us what you
quiet,
can do,
doesn't it?
Just well, it's going to. Everybody's closed down now for the summer.
No, but even that doesn't mean they can't fucking hype sign a new driver or something.
Yeah, it doesn't stop journalists speculating.
Yeah.
The factories have to close down, the offices don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it does seem that
Which kind of scuppers your plan that you were talking about on
No,
our
I'm just gonna
private
call
thread
them.
earlier, ringing all the factories up and saying,
Why are you still open? Do the FIA know about this?
and even the fact that he played down his chances of driving in Spa.
I don't think he did enough to have a seat in Spa.
No.
I think, obviously, we don't know about what his car setup was, what fuel load he had, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Renault would want to break things off with Palmer, if they were breaking things off with Palmer, in a nice way as possible.
Why?
they
If-
want to send him to a team upstate.
If they are breaking things off with him, then that's a sporting decision.
Yeah.
It's
But
not, you,
they've-
it's not you, it's me.
They've also got the Renault brand's PR spin that needs to be put on it.
Yeah, but you don't forget you're dealing with French people.
It's not Vu, it's new.
I think Robert Kubica's times were impressive. I think it was on his race simulations. His race simulation laps were. Bear in mind, he wasn't in the same situation, I know, but his race simulation laps were faster than Hülkenberg's and Palmer's. But he did complain towards the end of the day that during his qualifying sim that his arms were getting tired. There was a bit of tiredness in the arm.
Which
but
is-
I'd never seen that arm until the picture on
Oh, it's
Wednesday.
ridiculous.
Which is
Or
fair
Tuesday
enough,
of
but
him
he
on the
did
pit wall.
135
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say,
laps.
I thought
something
he
like
said
that.
there was some discomfort, but I was sure it was only after.
He said tiredness, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, but it was the end of the
142,
session.
That was two race distances.
Two full race distances.
with an extra lap.
Yeah. So around one of the most demanding circuits on the calendar as well.
Yeah, well, as
Yeah.
Hülkenberg said to him, if you can race here, you can race anywhere.
Yeah.
You do a full race.
It's up to New York.
No, I thought they changed it. It was going to be New Jersey. New York's got too many chicane. Oh no, that's Formula E. Don't bother.
Yeah. But I was obviously that's where all the spotlight was shone. All the spotlight was shone on Wednesday on Robert Kubica and what he was going to do in the Renault, and his qualifying sims were, I think, we were 10th off Palmer's time in his qualifying sim. But that was straight after he'd done 100 laps,
Yeah.
and he did say that he wasn't 100% happy, and also he felt a little bit of tiredness in his arm.
And you don't do 100 laps in FP3 and then go out and do qualifying.
But-
No, exactly. Yeah.
I take it. Are we just going to go with our little chat about testing now, seeing as how we're here?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there
Well,
were other
see-
performances in testing
seeing,
which were.
seeing as that's the first thing on the running order, then yes.
Oh right, I thought just the Kubica thing was. What about the fucking McLaren lad then?
Lando
Lando
Norris.
Norris.
Yeah,
Looks like a star of the future.
he's British, isn't he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I got
He's-
very
he's that-
excited when I found that out.
He's the BRDC young driver
Of the year.
yeah. And they get they
but
get
he's in
to
McLaren.
signed up to the McLaren development drivership.
Or they at least get a McLaren test.
But what if he gets pafferted it?
You shouldn't do yet.
He's only 17. There's still a few. He's still got a few years.
Yeah.
And to be honest, other teams are going to be taking note of him if McLaren don't want him.
So for anyone who didn't follow the test, he posted the second fastest time of the testing.
He was just over a quarter of a second down on Vettel.
Well,
Yeah, who won the race on Sunday?
Yeah, which is crazy.
And he was faster than Raikkonen.
Yes. Who
Right.
came second in the race on
Yes.
Sunday?
Yeah, faster than Raikkonen by just short of half a second.
crazy. I mean, we don't know what we don't know tires and fuel loads and all sorts.
They, well, it was.
I think they're all
those
super
fastest
softs,
three
aren't
laps
they?
were
Ultra softs.
Ultra softs.
Yeah.
They were using kitten softs, which they didn't use in the race in Hungary.
Right.
But for someone to get in a Formula One car for the first time and
Put times in up
put
there.
times in that are competing with the Ferraris.
Yeah.
In his first ever go, he's still in Formula 3, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
European
not even old
Formula
enough for a
3.
super license. He's still
No.
only 17.
Yeah. But that's hugely impressive.
Is he in European Formula 3?
Is it Euro Formula 3? Then I think.
Don't think so. 'Cause
Or is he still
is that
British
what
F3?
is that what Vettel was in European? Oh, not Vettel. Is that what Verstappen was in Euro
Yeah.
Formula 3? Because I think that's what McLaren have said is his next move for next year.
Right. Okay. So he's probably still British F3.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. So you might find he takes this new young driver way to Formula 1, and we might find him in Formula 1 the year after next if he's 18. You know, when he's 18, if he does a good job.
Possibly.
It's
European
a
Formula
possibility.
3.
He's
Yeah.
currently running second in the European Formula 3 Championship.
Oh, he is
in the
Euro
car.
Formula
he is?
3.
Oh, right, wow.
I thought he was. Yeah.
He was 8th in British Formula 3 last year. But he also won. He had a busy 2016. Let's put it this way: he won Eurocar Formula Renault 2.0. He won Formula Renault 2.0 NEC, and he won the what's called the Toyota Racing Series in an M2,
And he also finished 8th in Formula
and 8th
3.
in British Formula 3.
How many Lando Norrises are there?
So that is actually a total of 56 races, plus he did 3 races in European Formula 3 for Carlin, and then raced in Macau at the end of the year.
Wow.
That is one busy-assed year.
Yeah, it is.
How many races?
53 was it?
What was it? 56? 60 races, including Macau.
Good God.
Fuck.
So that's more than one a week.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's impressive.
60 races across 5 different classes, because he will have raced one of his Formula 3 cars at Macau.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's...
That's a lot of racing.
And he's got track experience.
Tell you what, it just shows that whoever's. But if I know he's part of the young driver program at McLaren now, but it shows whoever's behind him has a lot of faith in him.
Yeah.
Because that takes some.
Well, it
fucking
sounds like the BRDC, because I mean, don't forget there have been some sort of high-profile winners of that have gone on to fairly decent Formula One careers. David Coulthard,
Yeah.
Gary Paffett,
Yep.
Gary Paffett was bought by Mercedes, though, wasn't he? That was the problem with
Yeah.
Gary Paffett.
and
Who was? Did we decide one day that Gary Paffett actually just gets boxed up with the rest of the gear?
Jensen Button, of course, won it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And, yes, but a future looks quite good for if we can just be a little bit big-headed for a bit. British Formula One.
Well, of course,
George
Russell
Russell
was there and
Not Michael Schumacher's helmet at all.
pretty good in the Mercedes.
Yeah, he ran very, very well in the Mercedes. He wasn't quite right at the top of the timings, but much like Lando Norris, this was his first run in a Formula One car.
but he was also running with a halo.
Yes, he was
Yeah.
running with a halo and said
Yeah,
he
and
didn't see any problem with it.
Interesting feedback because it actually helped him at some
Yeah,
points.
I like that.
By keeping the sun out of his eyes.
Yeah, yeah. So you know,
Although the way that the BBC reported the quote from the story that Autosport ran was, George Russell ran with the halo and it helped him see better, and that was it.
yeah.
To be
also,
fair-
you saw my tweet to the BBC Formula One, and they need their wrist slapping because they were talking about how the halo made Sebastian Vettel dizzy.
Yes, they fucking do, and
No,
that's wrong.
you idiots.
Yeah.
Wrong. It was the shield. Do your research. Stop cutting funding for Formula One, or just get out of the game altogether.
Yeah, give Andrew Benson a job somewhere
Here.
where he's worthy of it.
Here.
Andrew, if you want to quit the BBC and come on this show for absolutely the same money as us, nothing.
We have biscuits.
might be a wage cut.
If you like chocolate hobnobs,
Yeah, other biscuits are available. Don't forget we're talking about the BBC.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we're not.
Lee makes a mean cuppa.
Here's one he made earlier.
Damn it, I finished.
Saying though about the whole old halo helping keeping the sun out of his eyes, he needs it. Have you fucking seen the lad?
Yeah.
He looks like someone stuck him in a fucking vacuum for a minute. Just not enough to suck everything out properly, but just enough time to make him look like some sort of fucking toy where you squeeze his body in and his eyes shoot out of his head. Fucking weird.
Oh no.
Like Judge Doom at the end of Roger Rabbit.
There goes the chances of the interview because we've been talking on Twitter.
Yeah, no. George Russell is, he was fairly impressive in his first run as well with the Mercedes. They're all 2017 cars being used as well at the test in Hungary. So for somebody to jump in and even just do laps anywhere near a competitive time is impressive. Let alone astronomically impressive as Lando Norris did in that McLaren.
Well, I don't know.
But you've also got Oliver Rowland. I know he wasn't testing just gone, but Oliver Rowland in the Renault program as well.
Yep.
So and there are people who've got a lot of faith in him. Canadian Nicholas Latifi, as we've already said, he tested on Tuesday for Renault before Kubica jumped in the car on Wednesday, and there'll be an opportunity for Ollie Rowland at some point. We know what Latifi can do. We want to see what Ollie Rowland can do now.
You would think so, because he's doing okay in F2. He's currently running second in the championship, ahead of Latifi.
Yeah.
And it seems to be there's a lot of good feeling about him. It's just that Latifi is getting the break at the moment. I can see Ollie Rowland in the Renault test at the end of the season.
Oh, I hope so. There's one in Abu Dhabi, isn't there?
Well, Latifi's French, I take it.
Canadian.
Oh, is he Canadian?
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't matter then.
Fake French.
Is he French-Canadian, though?
Must
With
be.
a name like Nicolas Latifi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, of course. That's why I thought he was fucking French. What a knobhead. That might, even just having a French speaker might appease Renault. Even if he's not proper French.
Yeah, fake French.
Fake French might be helpful for them. But we need more British drivers because on the grid because
We're about to lose one.
we're about to lose one because he's fucking shit. And the other one we've got is basically the best driver on the grid, but he thinks he's American, and it's not fair.
Yeah, but the Mercedes Young Driver program, just going back to George Russell for a second, it's got previous, hasn't it? It's picked out Pascal Wehrlein,
Esteban Ocon.
Yeah, Esteban Ocon, and now George Russell. So it's not like they'll just pick up anyone and put them on the program. So if you're gonna stick, eventually George Russell in with in the same pool as Wehrlein and Ocon, I'm a pretty decent driver there.
Although I do think that the Ocon's looking all right, but in my eyes, I think even if Van Dorn, did you say Van Dorn?
Wehrlein.
Van Dorn's a McLaren
Sorry,
driver.
Pascal Wehrlein's not looking like what Mercedes wanted him to be, is he? That's what I meant to
He
say.
was.
I got confused there by underperforming because I put Stoffel down as an underperformer as well.
I think I've not forgotten the performances in the manor where he put that car in positions it shouldn't be in.
Lately, he hasn't put any performances in of any manner.
But but the Sauber is
A dog.
a dog. The manor was a dog with a powerful engine.
That's true.
Wehrlein has scored points twice this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although to coin Leeism, because other drivers dropped out.
well, yeah,
Because
but
of
But that's how
shenanigans.
you score points.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's in the car that deserves to be
That's-
right at the back of the grid. And it wasn't.
And
it
it was
wasn't 10 drivers dropped
But
out. Was
he's
it?
not blowing the barn doors of Ericsson away. And if he was anywhere near,
race pace wise, usually he is.
no, he's. But they're comparable, and that's the problem.
Yeah, but you got to wonder as well. Are they favouring Ericsson at the moment at Sauber?
I don't know. I wouldn't.
Because
think.
Wehrlein's car started breaking down in Hungary, didn't it?
I don't think they'd sabotage him to make Ericsson look better.
No. I don't think it's sabotaging him, but are they giving Ericsson the better parts? Well, this is newer than that one. Give the Warn.
No, because I don't think they've had any new parts.
give the Warn one to Ericsson
it's
to
like-
Wehrlein.
They might put the new gaffer tape on Ericsson's car. But I don't think there's going to be a raft of updates that have come through that team.
No, but if you've got one part that's slightly less worn than the same part,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
then they're
it's-
interchangeable, they're not part of the power unit pool, for example.
You know how you can do this on Motorsport Manager.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can swap parts between cars, and you can give your number one driver.
Doing pretty fucking well at that game.
Yeah, but are you swapping parts between drivers and giving your number one driver the best parts?
No, I'm keeping two cars of equal standards and keeping them equal and letting them race.
You are Lee Mercedes Stevens.
Mercedes.
So until it's statistically impossible for one of them to win a championship, then I press the allow teammate pass button.
Oh God, we have Toto Manx Cat.
I like that. That's a T-shirt. That.
Toto Manx cat.
Just looking back at the Tuesday results, though. Charles Leclerc was actually fastest.
Oh yeah, he
in the
did
Ferrari.
very well. in there.
He was fairly impressive. Got quite a few laps under his belt.
Yeah, we can't forget Charles Leclerc, of course. Brilliant performance.
Yeah, likes all our tweets.
Yes.
Very active on social media when it comes to pressing the like button. If you're listening, just like the post we put up for this as well, please.
Yeah.
Just retweet one. Just don't like it. Retweet it.
Don't push him. Don't push him. He's under enough pressure. He works for Ferrari as it is. The other thing that came out of testing, of course, on Tuesday was Valtteri Bottas was running a Mercedes at the same time as George Russell with 2018 tyres.
Yeah.
And Pirelli being as Pirelli are, there's been absolutely no feedback from them about them.
The one singular tweet that I saw on Twitter, which bear in mind could be completely made up, was that Bottas was not happy with the performance of the 2018 tyres. Too much sliding around.
Isn't this what Vettel was saying last year when he was the one that was testing the tyres?
For 2017.
For 2017.
In all fairness, you can't expect them to give any feedback about the tyres because that's why the teams don't even know what compound they are, so not to give them like an edge to somebody.
It's I'd say they were fairly soft tyres, but then again, looking at the rest of the driver lineup, you can't really tell.
No.
So, as fans, what would we like to see as the feedback they give on the tyres?
Informative.
I don't care. I genuinely think that
you can push harder on these for longer than you could last year.
No, but do you not agree?
Something like that.
Yeah.
No, but do you not agree that maybe it's nothing to fucking do with us, the tyres?
Yeah, we've already said plenty of times in the past how Pirelli are
We're
the most thankless.
uninformed amateurs. It's got everything to do with us.
No. Our job is to talk about like the interesting parts of Formula One. I don't think the tyres are interesting. So, just if Formula One could stop talking about tyres,
they go between the cars and the ground.
well, okay, they're the only.
If it
bits of
wasn't
the
for
car
the tyres,
that touch the ground. Yeah.
But tyres can make a race interesting. If you've got...
But that's grand. But the construction of the tyres, I mean, like...
No, because
they should just do it. And
yeah,
we should just take
but it would be interesting to know, wouldn't it? Well, next year's tyres are going to have a gradual fall off the cliff, rather than, for example, this
I
year's
want
one
a
just fall
surprise.
straight off the cliff.
I don't even want the teams to know what's going to happen with the tyres when they turn up to Australia. That's what's interesting.
That is quite a good point, but from a safety point of view, I think they kind of have to know a little
Oh,
bit
no, yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah,
No,
but
they've
Halo,
got
so
to,
everything will be
but-
safe.
No, it won't.
I like to be surprised.
Also, can everybody who... I've seen a lot of hashtags flying around, hashtag no to Halo. Can you stop doing that, please? Because your hashtags aren't going to work. Just accept it and move on.
Yeah, Jackie Stewart put an interview today, said he thinks the backlash towards the Halo was very similar to what he got in the 60s.
When he wanted barriers
Yes.
between him and the trees.
Yes. And then it made
But
me...
not having barriers is part of the DNA of Formula One.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, well,
Just a metal Armco barrier, to stop yourself from hitting, just to ricochet back across the track, perhaps. But that's more dangerous than hitting a tree at 200 miles per hour.
I don't know what your point is, Jackie. We've got these fence things that wrap you up, so if your car goes on fire, it keeps you all up in a nice little flamey ball.
Yeah, they were successful as well, weren't they?
Fucking stupid idea.
Ridged gravel traps, we all remember them.
Do you know what? That's been somebody sat watching football on a Saturday afternoon on like just behind the keepers, saw the ball going and going, Dave, I've had a great idea.
Nets!
Although I was watching vintage football, and it was on the TV in the pub couple of weeks ago, and you wouldn't want to go back to that. You couldn't actually see the green bits of the pitch.
Oh, was it just mud?
Yeah,
That was before the match started, wasn't it?
That was before kickoff. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. And then the referee came out and went, "It's fine to play."
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, yeah. Does it go up to your knees? No, you can play on it then.
That's it.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back, Tuesday's testing was mostly newbies. I think Stoffel, Bottas, and Max Verstappen were the only experienced F1 drivers.
Did Gasly do a run on Tuesday as well?
No, he didn't.
Just Wednesday.
Yeah,
Because it's worth talking about Pierre Gasly as well.
It is. But is he gonna be? Is he not quite what Red Bull wanted? Do we think? Is he not the future?
Well, I don't know. You can't
How
really
did his
tell.
times compare?
He was
I don't know.
down.
I don't know because I'm on Tuesday's page.
I think he was 120.8 from memory.
120.3.
3, sorry.
He was slower than Sainz and Kvyat, who were in the Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know. Blah, blah,
Again,
Yeah.
you don't know. You know, they may have stuck a load of new parts on that Red Bull and just got Pierre, just go out and test them for us to see what feedback you can give us, because
Or just, we want to see you bang in 120 laps again and again and again.
exactly
Yeah,
they might have said that.
consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they could have, they could also be testing drivers on what feedback they can give them.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, going way back in a full circle here, Robert Kubica was giving excellent feedback to the Renault engineers, to the Renault pit wall, about the differences from the car that he had driven so far this year to that car, to a very, very fine detail, as in he could feel how much the floor was not moving in comparison to how much the floor used to move in the older cars, and or the other way around, I can't remember. But very, very precise movements like that. Kubica was giving feedback and things like that. That's what you get from an experienced driver. It'd be interesting to see what sort of feedback, for example, Lando Norris gave in comparison, because all he's got to compare is his Formula 3 car. What did George Russell give as feedback? Was Pierre Gasly on a feedback mission at one point? Was that the sole purpose of the test? Go out there, doesn't matter about your lap times, but we want your feedback on how the car feels.
Yeah.
Knowing full well that they'd set it up probably to do laps of like 120.3. But they wanted to hear what he said about it rather than more interested in how fast he could go around the circuit. There is that possibility as well.
Oh, sorry, you don't.
Yeah. Sorry, bit of a rant.
Just a shitload. Just looking at the rest of the lineup for Tuesday. We had split drivers in the Force India with Lucas Auer and I keep wanting to call him Nicholas Marzipan.
No, is
Mazepin.
Mazepin, yes.
I think you've got every right to call him Nicholas Marzipan.
It's spelled marzipan.
Nikita Mazepin.
Yeah, Nicholas Marzipan.
Fine.
It sounds like something Ali G would say to someone he fancied.
Oh. And representing the 1990s tonight.
I'm sorry if you're Russian and we're calling your driver Marzipan.
Because we don't translate everyone else's names, do we?
No.
He hasn't got like one of those backwards Q's and an X in there as well, has he? It's actually
maze pin,
right.
which I thought was what you used to deflate a maze you were stuck in.
Jesus.
I can do these as well.
Shall we get back to talking about their performance?
Yeah.
This Formula One
please.
podcast we used to do.
No, we used that joke the other week.
Yeah, I'm going to keep using it.
Mazepin, 52 laps, 119.9, and Lucas Auer, 53 laps. So it was a fairly even split, 120.5.
But Lucas Auer's a bit slower than the Mazepin, but again, were they running different configurations?
And obviously, no Alfonso Chelis.
No, I don't know why. They went for a very, very... Unless Chalice did he do the early tests?
He's had a couple of FP1s, I think, this season.
And maybe they've got him in mind for Abu Dhabi for some reason.
Possibly.
Yeah, who knows?
Looking at the rest of the lineup, Nicholas Latifi, who we've already talked about in the Renault, Another F2 driver here, Sean Gelael in the Toro Rosso. Now, I didn't know that he was part of the Red Bull Young Driver programme because I thought that they had Gasly, who was the only one old enough to drive a Formula 1 car in it. So are they sounding out Sean Gelael for potentially moving him into the Red Bull Young Driver? But
Possibly.
is he a bit old?
How old is he?
Well, his balls have dropped, so he's too old for Red Bull, surely.
Jesus.
Well, they don't have a pipeline really at the moment, do they? They've got Gasly, and then apart from possibly Gelael, who's their next driver? Isn't it someone seriously young?
It's a Finnish guy in F3 or GP3 who is only just turned 17, and I can't remember his name.
Whereas for the last few years, they've had one or two drivers ready to go into the Toro Rosso at a moment's notice.
Usually when
So-
Kvyat fucks up.
I know we've joked about it like quite a lot of like the meat grinder, which is the Red Bull Young Driver program. Do you think someone's actually looked at that internally and gone like, we cannot keep doing this to people?
Yeah, like,
I hope so, because it's produced one driver who's left Red Bull and is in Formula One.
I think the biggest point of it is when you look at all the drivers that have come through it, it's produced 2 race winners and 1 world champion. 3 race winners and 1 world champion. And when you consider the carnage it's left behind it, is it like
You've got a trail of Buemi's, Baudet, De Grassi's.
yeah. Without Sebastian, without the success of Sebastian Vettel, you'd argue that it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
But you can't
You can't say
5 world championships.
it
worth
doesn't. It doesn't really count.
Yeah.
And I think Ricciardo is another good product of it.
Yeah.
He's waiting to be world
Verstappen's
champion.
not
Yeah.
really
Verstappen isn't a Red Bull young driver.
not
He was
really.
brought into Toro Rosso, really.
Yeah, he was a product of his dad's.
But what happened to
Training.
Antonio Felix da Costa? Wasn't Alex Lynn roughly associated with Red Bull for very short?
Alex Lynn was part of the Young Driver program before he got dropped.
Yeah.
He then got picked up by Williams.
Yeah.
And Williams did the usual thing of picking drivers up and then not allowing them into a car.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same problem, but the opposite of Red Bull, because they do pick the drivers up and they do allow them into the car
Just
twice.
not for very long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jaime Al-Jashwari did.
Oh, just go down the Formula E grid and it's like ex-Red Bull,
Exactly.
ex-Red Bull, ex-Red
Yeah,
Bull,
yeah.
ex-Red Bull.
Jean-Eric Verne.
Yeah.
There you go. Baudet, who's in IndyCar now, isn't he?
Who they
And
took-
came from IndyCar.
They took him from IndyCar.
Yeah.
John Verne should still be in Formula 1.
Should be.
He
I think.
was...
Or he should have
Baudet
been-
probably should be as well.
Yeah.
I don't know about Baudet. He had a very, very,
Sketchy start, didn't he?
very, very
Yeah, but he was-
sketchy
he was driving-
against Sebastian
He was driving
Buemi.
for Red Bull when they were shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sebastian Buemi outdrove him that year that he was in.
And
Yeah,
But
that's
again,
all
Buemi
teammates.
is a good, solid driver.
Yeah, he is. He so much so that he was still being kept on as Red Bull's reserve driver up until last year.
now he just wants to fight the entire Formula E paddock because it's all their
Oh, did you
fault.
see that? That
Yeah.
was amazing. What a video.
Yeah.
That's Sebastian Buemi going crazy in the Formula E paddock.
not
You hit
happy.
me. And the guy was like, I was nowhere near you, mate. Like,
Yeah.
into turn 1, you hit me. Think you want that guy over there.
Oh, he's gonna do great in NASCAR.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Get him in one of those NASCAR pickup trucks. He will be brilliant. 'Cause I swear that's the NASCAR series where they have the better fights. The
At least
Truck World Series.
At least all the NASCAR people are usually wearing different uniforms, aren't they? No, the cars are all different colours, aren't they? Even the same team, so he might not make the mistake of picking on somebody's teammate.
You saying all rednecks look alike?
Oh fuck! I didn't even think of that. Go get me your cousin, or your cousin's cousin, or your cousin's nephew's cousin.
Mom.
But yeah.
Dan can hear the listeners running
Switching
away
off.
from the podcast.
I don't know that. I'll come to that joke in an email later.
So you can't draw too much from testing, but what you can draw is positive performances
Yeah,
from.
It's absolutely impossible to draw any conclusions, but we have done.
Yeah.
But we're going to make some bold assumptions anyway. Santino Ferrucci also got an outing in the Haas.
Who I predict will be mentioned later in the podcast.
Well,
no,
no.
we won't. Because that was after we finished recording that bit that we haven't done yet.
What magic time
Yeah.
stuff again?
Yes.
Yeah, what happened before is going to happen later.
No.
But the bit that you're talking about didn't happen when it was happening. It happened after it happened.
Oh, did it?
Yes.
Oh, heck. So he won't be mentioned.
Hell, it's like being inside
Yeah.
Primer.
Tell you what.
He will be mentioned later.
Ex F2000 driver Santino Ferrucci. How about that?
Right.
There you go.
Had an outing in the Haas, and Gustav Malya was driving the Sauber, which was slow.
Luca Giotto was in the
Was he
Williams,
a
wasn't
relation of Vijay Malia?
He is not.
He's not,
he? It's
spelled
different spelling,
differently.
yeah.
Right.
and he's Swedish,
Right, okay.
which
cool.
is probably why he was in a Sauber.
Yeah, good.
Luca Giotto, the man who sounds like an ice cream, wasn't he in the in the
He
Williams?
was driving the Williams, yeah.
I am getting to that. He was in the Williams on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Um,
And was it quite slow?
he was very slow. Well, very slow comparatively. 120.414,
Which is not too bad.
which it's quicker than we could do. It was 6/10 slower than.
It's not real. It's not a real comparison, is it?
It was 6/10 slower than Lance Stroll was on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
Faster than Lee, but slower than Jeff Sharp.
Right.
So yeah, Giotto drove the Williams on the Wednesday.
Took a train
More,
on
ex-
Tuesday.
a more experienced lineup, and then he gets to chill on Sunday. Oh no, he doesn't. He's
racing.
He's in F2, so
Yeah.
he gets to chill on Sunday afternoons because F2 races Sunday mornings.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And Sauber's next one through the meat grinder on Wednesday was Nobuharu Matsushita. Got that out first time.
Yes.
Who is not going to be driving for them anymore, I understand.
Because he was part of the Honda deal, as we speculated,
Yes,
which is now fallen through.
The contract had already been signed for him to do the test when they binned off Honda.
Yeah.
So there was no way of them getting out of it. So he will be going back to about 16th place in GP2, which
Right.
is his natural environment.
Did he not win the sprint race in Hungary?
There were crashes.
Oh, okay. Shenanigans.
Yes. Yeah, it's a great bar. It's right next to the circuit.
Talking of Honda
Talking of Honda,
and Honda drivers,
well, it's not necessarily Honda drivers, but Honda power units.
Honda power units.
I
Well,
was gonna say,
drivers.
talking of Honda and Honda drivers, Lee, do you want to take over for the next 30 minutes, and I'll just go and order a 5-course meal?
No, not really.
Oh, that's okay then. No, Honda are claiming that they will be able to, doesn't that say take?
Yeah, overtake.
Overtake Renault by the end of the season.
No, they're saying that they aim to. That's different to claiming
Claim
they'll be
to,
able to.
Claim to and aim to. It's only 2 letters away.
Yeah, but if you're playing Scrabble, that could put you like on a triple word score or
It could
something.
do. Yeah, it could do. It's a good point. So that's what Honda are aiming for. Were Honda not also aiming for race wins at the end of 2015?
Yeah.
I think they've given up aiming for that now.
Right. It's probably a good choice.
Well, no, what they're going to do is put Max Chilton in the car next year, and then he will finish a race in 2015.
Talk about breaking time.
I don't know. I think it's a...
There is a 4-spec engine in there, the 3rd spec engine, Spec 3 engine that they've been using.
And what they've been bringing has been getting better.
Has
their
been
their
getting
updates
better, yeah.
have been working.
Yeah, I mean, we saw, albeit with DRS, Fernando Alonso fairly comfortably overtaking Carlos Sainz in Hungary. All right, okay, there was DRS involved, but it wasn't under DRS. Oh, this is going to be a struggle.
No, but he was well quicker as well.
Oh, yeah.
He was...
Yeah, halfway down
Be-
the straight,
because
he
he-
was passed.
Because he was in the McLaren, which has the good chassis, so he
Yeah.
could carry the speed around the corners. And the straights are short, so he
Hungary
wasn't
suited
running
him.
out of power.
Yeah,
What will be the pointer? And I think Lee alluded to this earlier. Will be Spa. And I
Yeah.
know we're still a few weeks away from it. We need to talk about Spa right away. But Lee, what were you saying about a Honda in Spa?
Well, I think if they're back where they were, I mean, I don't think they'll be up where they were in Hungary. you
Double
know?
points, for
Yeah.
example. Yeah.
But if they, I still think there's a chance of double points at Spa. But I think you might be looking at 9th and 10th, so right the proper back end of the points. But I think if they can get into Q3, if one of the cars can get into Q3 in Spa, that shows like proper improvement, doesn't it?
What I want to see for proper improvement is both McLarens to finish Spa.
Yeah.
That's all, really.
Yeah.
We know the power isn't there on the end of the long straights. Hasn't been all series. But up until Hungary, reliability was
Woeful.
utterly crap.
Yeah.
So even at the circuits where it looked like they might be able to do something,
they've just
Alonso was pulling out near the end of the race.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the engine reliability as well; it was the engine causing other problems with the reliability of the car because of the vibrations that it was putting.
Well,
out.
early on in the season,
if they fixed that, it's a much better place to be.
Yeah, I mean, early on in the season, wasn't there a couple of times that Alonso pulled out of a race when he was running in the points?
No, he was outside, wasn't he? I think.
No, I think there was at least once when he was running the points.
Oh, right, okay.
He might not have retired from a points position, but he was in the points and then had to slow right down and then got pulled out. Yeah,
that's called a full Verstappen.
I don't think Verstappen's short string of bad luck is enough to claim that from being a full-on Alonso, to be honest.
No.
He's got to have 2 years of breakdowns.
It's a minor blip, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he's got to miss out on a world championship by 1 point 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
But the
how he hasn't had a nervous breakdown, I've no idea.
Exactly. But the Spec 4 engine, which of course both McLaren drivers will take heavy grid penalties for.
That's the problem here, is the fact that we can never see when they actually get new stuff, like fresh things which haven't run, when they actually get them in the car. They've got so many grid penalties that we never actually see what one of the brand new Honda engines will do, from where it should be.
Yeah, I mean, because realistically, the Spec 4 engine, even if it came in for Monza, for example, the grid penalties would be so bad that you wouldn't get to see what it could do.
Yeah.
So you'd want Suzuka maybe next power circuit really. It's not even really power; it's sort of half and half, isn't it, Suzuka?
Yeah. Does this prove that the penalty system doesn't work with the engines?
I think you said that this penalty system doesn't work with the engines 2 years ago at the week of the 130 places.
Yeah, but does this not prove it? The fact that if it's in there to try and cut costs for teams, but the teams that are actually doing okay,
strategically choosing when to take the penalties.
But the teams that are actually doing okay don't have to worry about taking the penalties because they don't need to do it because they've got enough engines to do it with. And Honda don't give a fuck, and they just seem to have this, like, I can only imagine that, like, in Japan they have this like funnel system, and like Ninja's just chucking money into the top of it, and then that goes down the conveyor belt into the car.
I like your stereotypical mind picture of
Ninjas go in and penalties come out.
Yeah, well, no, like engines come out and car parts come out.
So what do you reckon the answer is? Would it be something like
your shit have this one on us?
No, you're allowed to use as many engines as you like, but when you start getting points, that takes away from your
constructors'
engine
points.
No, it takes away from your engine pool. So if you win in every race, you've got to make your engines last the whole season.
Yeah.
Ooh. If you come in 20th, then you can swap your engine every race.
Yeah, that would work.
Which would let people at the back develop.
Yeah.
Stop people at the front racing ahead.
Overdeveloping.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan might have just fixed Formula 1.
Yeah.
That's normally Lee's job.
Do you know what would actually fix it, if we're perfectly honest? That we're
Put us in charge.
Fuck hybrid engines off, have naturally aspirated cheaper engines, and fuck the whole system away, because the engines would be cheaper. We wouldn't need to worry about the teams not being able to afford the engines, and we could go back to running 3 engines a weekend per car.
This is what this possibility of discussing where the power units will be after 2020. There will be some form of turbo V6 engine, but whether or not it's they haven't formally decided on what format they're going to use yet.
I want to see people free to develop any technology and use it in Formula 1. So restrict the emissions.
That isn't conducive. Well, it might not be conducive to an actual competitive formula, though.
Do you not think?
No, I think what you'll find is that a Mercedes will end up with a massive advantage over the second place team.
Well, the only way that would work, which is where we're getting into Formula Chris, which is make everything undisclosed. Doesn't matter what if you put something new in your car.
even then you've still got to have the money to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that would then, like, more so than now, just turn into a formula where the rich win. and that's not what we want. What we want is to try and bunch it up like MotoGP have done.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
we could end
I
up
want to
with...
see teams coming along and saying, we're trying this new hydrogen engine.
I know what you want, and I think it's because you basically want a different Formula One to what I do, and because we're talking about this, we might as well go slightly off piste. And I want to know what you think.
No, Lee's taking us off piste.
Yeah. Prepare to be Schumachered.
No.
I can feel my brain cells fading away as we speak.
Go on.
On the grid,
Yep.
Ross Brawn was collared by Ted Kravitz, I think, and they had a quick chat about Formula One in the future. Yeah? Do we remember this conversation?
Yeah.
Vaguely.
And Ted Kravitz said, like, what do you think? Do you think it should be more towards a prototype sport type thing, or more towards an entertainment thing? And Ross Brawn said, I think there's a case to be made for both, but what we need to make sure we do is we choose one of them and not stay in the middle, which I thought was an excellent answer, actually.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Now, personally, I think I've said this all along, I watch Formula One for sport, and I find sport entertaining. I don't care if hybrid engines can be used on the road. I don't care if the next car I has some type of KERS, that's trickled down from Formula One into my car.
Oh, but you would find that ultimately cool if you had a green KERS button you could press.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like the next car I buy, if I buy a modern car,
Yeah.
will be bought, and if it's got Tiptronics, that would sell me the car.
I'm
Without-
not buying a car that doesn't have DRS.
Right.
I've seen how good it is in Formula One.
But only when you hear the beep in your ear.
Yes.
But my
Well, you do it manually, don't you? You get out and you take the roof rack off.
my problem with this is, I mean, I'm not a big football fan, as you all know.
Yep.
I am aware of this. I have sat down. I won't say and watched football games with you. I have been sat in the same room as you when there's been football going on.
But football doesn't seem to think that it's responsible for the technology that's used in football boots and footballs.
But football isn't a high-tech sport.
It's not a mechanical sport.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's just, I'm sure if they wanted to pummel loads and loads of fucking money into making crazy football boots and make it that sort of thing, you
They
could
have.
do. No, but that's just a...
Well, the manufacturers have.
but yeah,
But there's still no benefit to the manufacturers,
that's
really,
a
is
product that the manufacturers are doing that for football. Football doesn't think it needs to design its rules around building football boots that can then trickle down to the market.
it? No, because it's a different sort of...
So,
way of
swimming
doing
has
things.
had high-tech things in it. Cycling has
Yeah.
high-tech things in
Yeah.
it.
McLaren even designed and built a bike, didn't they, for cycling, and that won races.
Yeah, but I don't understand why
and got
Formula
banned
One.
because it was too high-tech.
Well, there
I
you
don't
go.
understand why Formula One feels that it needs to be responsible for technology that comes down to road cars.
Because manufacturers are involved in Formula One, and manufacturers...
That doesn't matter. It does,
yes, it does, because
doesn't
they're
matter.
in Formula One to sell cars.
No, they're
That's the
in-
only reason they're there.
Yeah, but what sells cars? Their technology
Winning
doesn't-
races.
Yeah, but their technology doesn't sell cars. Their name on the side of it does.
Yes, but then they like to have a passing resemblance. Well, you see, you know
they
that car
don't.
that you drive on the road, that's got the same battery power that we use in our cars.
I'd argue that they don't. That if they want to use this technology as cool technology, especially the hybrid stuff, they don't push it enough. If
Well,
that's what they want.
Yeah, but I mean, it could be that 2020 Formula One is just twin turbo 1.6 engine. That could be it.
That'd be fine.
But when I say I'd like to see people coming along with hydrogen engines
Yeah.
or electric engines, I'm not saying I want to see road relevance specifically. Part of Formula One to me, not all of it, part of it is clever engineering.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like FW14B with active suspension.
Yeah,
Clever engineering
very.
that pissed all over the rest of the field.
Would it not be good enough for a set of rules, even if the set of rules were restrictive in the development of Formula One? But would it not be enough if those set of rules allowed for the fastest racing cars to be built from those rules. To me, that's the DNA of Formula One. Is that Formula One cars should, pound for pound, be the fastest single-seater racing cars that can be built and put on a track. That to me is Formula One.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yes.
With limits on that to stop people dying horribly.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, that's again. I've said it before. Let's make the cars as safe as possible, and when the cars are really, really safe, we can make them really, really fast.
Yeah.
Until Adrian Newey designs a flux capacitor and then wins all last season.
Fuck, you get a fucking canopy in there. Let's fucking get a smart system in it with an ejector seat to get them the fuck out of the car if they crash.
Which might hurt a bit if you're upside down.
That's why I said a smart system.
That can eject them either way.
So yeah. Anyway, that's a big digression from Honda engines perhaps being faster than.
So, for everyone that complains that we talk about Honda too much, we avoided talking about Honda too much because we're
In a
talking
segment about
something else.
Honda.
Yeah.
I'd also like to say I took us away from it,
Yeah.
so you man can stop being a dickhead. Carry on.
You've got 1 point back. Bit of an appeal. Next, how long have we got before you go to Jersey, Chris?
If you're listening, if this podcast
Give us the date.
Wednesday I'm in Jersey.
Wednesday. So if you're listening to this on Tuesday or Wednesday,
If
or
you're listening
possibly Thursday.
Well, if you're listening to it on Tuesday, I'm not there yet. If you're listening to it Wednesday or Thursday, I might be there, or I'm definitely there.
Do you miss a podcast?
Have you said the actual date? Just in case people are listening to it next Monday or
The
something.
Wednesday the 9th of August is when I arrive in Jersey.
And you are there until...
Sunday the 13th.
So he doesn't miss a podcast.
Oh, you're not leaving me these pair of bellends.
No, I'm not leaving.
Oh, don't worry if he wasn't here, Sean would come back in. She kind of looks after
They're
us all.
still here, aren't they? Damn it.
No, that's tomorrow's show you're talking about. So what do people have to do sort of between now and while you're in Jersey?
Well, I am astounded by the amount of support I've got on Twitter for trying to get hold of Nigel Mansell in order to arrange an interview for whilst I'm there, basically. Just a 10-minute, 15-minute chat. That's all I want with him. Rough audio quality recorded probably just on my phone. He's got his museum there in Jersey, which I have discovered is within walking distance of where I'm staying. It's not like I've got to get a bus to... Jersey's quite small anyway. But it's not like I've got to get a bus or anything. It's literally I've got to walk down the road and round the corner. I just want to say thanks to everybody who's retweeted and tweeted Nigel Mansell as well, just to say, come on, let's get on the show. These guys are the best F1 podcast. Special mention to Pete Bull, who's actively engaged Nigel Mansell in conversation and told him to get in touch with us. I have been given an avenue. I have been given an avenue which is perhaps the best way of contacting him. Now, I'm not going to divulge that now because it might not work. I don't want you guys, everybody who's listening, all thousands of you, to start calling up and saying, "Oh, can I speak to Nigel, please?" But
in a very bad pastiche of his accent.
Yeah. Yeah, if he is listening, oops.
However, if you did that to Nico Rosberg, fair fucks.
Yeah. But so I've been given an avenue of possible way of actually contacting and speaking to him. So that to keep the pressure up, but keep it nice, keep it polite.
Also, if there's any other Formula One drivers in Jersey in the next few days who'd like to talk to Flood, I'm sure current.
Derek Warwick lives in Jersey, I think.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Derek Warwick also lives there as well, but he's always busy.
In fact, if there's any listeners that are in Jersey, they should tweet you and then come and meet you.
If there are listeners in
Jersey. Because
Jersey.
nothing ever goes wrong when you meet random people on the internet.
No, not at all. Not at all. So if I'm not on the podcast next week, you know what happened.
Nigel Mansell took you prisoner.
Yeah. Although the thing I'm most excited about, actually,
so listeners, if you hear Sean next week, start an appeal for Flood.
A flood appeal.
I like the idea of you being chained up in a dark basement, and just this deep voice comes from the background. From the background, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
Just a voice going. Some people say the moustache tickles.
Well, actually, no, these days it would be, is this your card?
But the thing I'm most looking forward to is I've seen a couple of pictures of the inside of the museum. It is fairly small, granted, and it's above his own car dealership. But there is an FW14B there. And it's got the red 5 on it.
Can we stick a 3 legs 4 wheels sticker on it?
Yeah, probably.
That's your mission.
3 legs 4 wheels.
Not on the car.
Yes.
Because you probably
on the car.
Well, okay, but you probably get arrested or
Probably.
bombed by Nigel Mansell. But but what we like somewhere in there.
3 legs 4 wheels.
Yeah. Somewhere discreet, like like if there's a cabinet there,
Yeah.
stick it down the left-hand side or something.
Yeah.
No, inside the cockpit where they have the circuit maps.
Doesn't one of the Roman Grosjean or Perez have a picture of Jesus?
Perez.
Perez
I think it
is-
yeah.
he has a
it's
picture of
picture
Jesus.
races with a picture of Jesus in the car, yeah.
Wow.
As long as it's not one of those stickers on the back that says Jesus is my navigator. Like, I'd prefer Garmin.
Is it a signed picture?
I haven't noticed that he was going too quick. But I tell you what, it's a good job the Roman Empire fell. Can you imagine how many pictures you'd need of if you were into that? Just picture Mount Olympus.
That's it.
Surrounding the cockpit.
Worst case scenario, I come back from Jersey and I can give you all a great oversight about the Nigel Mansell Museum. Apparently you can spend about 2 hours in there. I plan on spending about 2.5 hours in there. If I can.
That's about the same amount of time I spent at the David Coulthard Museum in Twynham.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So, I can give you an oversight in there, and I know full well that at the end of the tour, if you will, or at the end of the museum, there is the opportunity to buy prints or certain things, and you can ask them to be forwarded on to your home address after you've had them personalised by Nigel Mansell.
Ah, that is cool.
Cool.
So I am hoping to get something personalised, at least if not.
Dear Chris, I'm sorry I didn't give you an interview. Love, Nigel.
That's what I'm looking for, yeah.
David Coulthard didn't offer that service when I went to his museum, but I did get to have my photograph taken holding up the Monaco Winners' Trophy,
Oh, wonderful.
which is one of the coolest experiences of my life.
Yeah.
Ace.
If you'd fulfilled his potential, it might have been a World Championship trophy.
Yeah, but the Red Bull was shit. Oh, it wasn't just Red Bull.
It wasn't just Red Bull.
He
was in the best McLaren ever made for a while too.
Yeah.
as the second best driver.
Yes, yeah.
We have a guest.
We have a guest.
We have a
on
guest.
Tonight.
On tonight.
We've
On,
already
right
we had a
now.
guest.
on now.
But guess what? It's not
We've
Nigel
done it.
Mansell.
We've done
We
it.
haven't.
We haven't.
We
haven't.
just did.
No, we didn't. You dreamt it.
Wow.
Adrian Newey snuck in and gave you a flux capacitor.
Right, okay.
And now the rest of us are going to have a chat with Dave Daddario.
Wait,
I hope he's got a really nice voice then, because the chap I dreamt of the other night that had an interview with us had a really nice voice.
I think he does.
Right,
Something tells me he does have a really nice voice.
Yeah.
that's right. So,
So we are very happy to be joined by Formula Atlantic F2000 Series racer and the first driver to put a 3 legs 4 wheel sticker on an actual racing car, Dave
Yes.
Daddario. There won't be a jump cut here in the slightest.
nope.
So hi Dave, welcome to 3 legs 4 wheels.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. It's great to finally chat with you guys in person.
Yeah, same here. And just before we get started, I just want to say a massive thank you for putting the logo on the car. That was
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, we love that. I mean, it's been our Facebook cover picture since
Since
you first raced with it on.
Yeah.
It's been a bit of a hit, and it generates some questions. And actually, I didn't have your logo on the car at the end of last year, but we had a couple and a young son and daughter come join us in the garage when we were in New Jersey. And the guy was just getting into Formula One, watching the races and coming up, understanding everything.
Nice.
And I said, I have a podcast for you to listen to.
Nice.
And obviously, I don't know that fellow, but I'm sure he's downloaded you guys and he tried it out. And if maybe we're going back to Jersey in October, so maybe we run into him then and see how he's come along with you guys.
We've got a few listeners from New Jersey that have been in touch. So if it is you, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Dave, you've got a bit of a background in racing, really. I would say.
Yeah, he's a racing driver, Paul.
Well, yeah, with a background before he was actually racing himself. Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say I grew up around the sport, and I missed a junior prom in high school to go to a car race, and what better excuse is there to miss something like that than to
Paul,
be
I
at
grew up
Pocono
around the
instead.
sea. It doesn't make me a fish.
But yes, I started racing when I was 8 years old, 93. So do the math. I'm coming up on, well, I'm 32 now, so I've been doing it for better part of my life. Little cars in the U.S. is what I started with. They're quarter midgets, which are scaled down sprint cars.
Yeah.
Run exclusively on ovals. Did that from ages 8 to 15, and then hopped into a single-seater shortly after my 16th birthday and had no idea what I was doing, making right turns and shifting gears and all that.
Typical American.
Exactly.
You lost me at midget racing. Carry on.
You know, there are a couple of things when I was sharing with you guys my background offline where I left room for a Leeism.
And you've been
To be plugged in.
sufficiently provided with the Leeisms.
Yeah, I think the quarter midgets are sort of the closest thing we'd have over here would be the Formula 2 stock cars, which the nearest circuit is, well, it's within listening distance of Lee's house where we record the podcast, and you can actually hear it on a clear night.
I prefer to keep my view of what midget racing is in my head and ignore facts.
You're a more Game of Thrones type.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, sorry about that, Dave. So you were telling us sort of how you came up through the through the ranks into single seaters. So what was the first sort of single seater car you actually you raced?
I drove a car that's similar to what we're driving now. It was a Formula Continental, they're called, club racing car, but it's single seat, open wheel, front and rear wings with a 2-liter Ford engine in it, which is the same formula that we're driving. That car was built in 1995, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was driving it in 2001. So a little bit long in the tooth. And it's funny, I was looking at pictures of that car this past weekend. It doesn't look very much like the cars we're driving today. There's just been a lot of advancement since then. But sort of got right into the deep end, ran a few weekends in that car, was admittedly off the pace, but learning, and then wrecked that car pretty badly at the end of the 2001 season. And that got us on the track to Formula Ford racing for the early part of my club racing career in the U.S. And that was a series that was really good to us. Traveled all around the northeast of the United States. Ultimately, the goal was to get to the club racing national championships. We did that in 2007. Went to scenic Topeka, Kansas to enjoy that race. And I think we did fairly well. I had some expectations, got sort of pushed around in the race a little bit, qualified 4th, finished 7th place in the race, so bit of a balanced success. And I was just worried about bringing that car home because it's a long drive from Connecticut in the U.S. to Kansas, and it would have been a really long drive back with a bent-up race car.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. So I think you made the right decision of playing it safe and getting that car home.
Yeah. Since then, I relocated myself and my family. My wife and I got married last year down to Florida in the U.S. Thanks, I appreciate that. So
On the marriage, not on moving to Florida. That sounds horrible.
So I had a period where we did races, but it was sort of slim pickings between probably 2008 and 2013. Did at least a race or two each year up north. But then since then, we've been involved in the F2000 Championship Series, which is a series for these 2-liter formula cars with minimal downforce to run in single-class race groups, which is hard to find in the U.S. That's something that if you're club racing, you usually kind of get mixed in with whoever has a similar car, and you're not necessarily competing against those guys, but you're sharing the track with them, and it could be a mess. There's a lot of clumsy accidents that happen when cars that are faster in a straight line go by you, but they're slower in the corners. So it's really great to be with the group that we're running with right now. F2000 series is top notch for what we're doing. It's technically a pro series, but I would call it pro light because I do not consider myself a professional driver. I have a day job, like a lot of the other guys do. But it's great to get out there and run with guys that are really pushing the equipment to the limits. And I think since driving with those guys, I've become a much better driver because you have to be. You can't stagnate in that series or else you end up in the back of the pack.
Yeah, I've seen some of the, I know some podcast listeners as well, going back a little way, will have seen some of the on-board footage that you taken on one of your cars. I think there was an accident involved that, unfortunately, Dave. I think that's what happened that particular day. But yeah, I mean, from those few seconds of racing that we actually got to see, it looks like it's a very sort of very, very close-knit field. I mean, fair enough, it was probably very close to the start of a race, but, you know, for single-seater racing, what you want is to be able to compete with, even at grassroots levels, be able to compete with the other guys who you're racing with.
Yeah, exactly. And they've done a really great job equalizing the engine formula. I think in all of my experience, you've always sort of, why did that guy beat me? I bet it's because he's got a stronger engine. And you always think of that, and sometimes people say it. Nobody has said that, or I've never heard anyone say that in my few years running with the F2000 series. They just do a really good job checking everybody's ECU settings, making sure everyone's engines are still sealed, and the results show it on the track. If someone's faster than you, it means they got through the corners faster than you, and that's how they're going by you on the straightaways. It doesn't mean they have a Mercedes versus a Honda in the car.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's good. When you started, was it when you started racing around about the age of 8? Was there a goal? Did you intend to maybe make a career out of it? Did you see yourself getting into Formula One or to IndyCar or to anywhere like that, or did you just take it as it came?
I would say a little bit of both. I mean, I grew up watching the Indy 500 and watching the IndyCar series and going to what was called CART at the time. It's what we know IndyCar as today. Yeah. Going to those races with my dad and his friends. I always looked up to those guys. Would have loved to have driven in the 500 and the Indy 500. I mean, that would have been a blast. But there are realities. I mean, I went to college where some of my friends stuck into racing instead, and they don't necessarily have a fallback plan now, and I do, which I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that my parents set me up on that course. But there was always sort of shooting for professional racing, but having a backup plan in place. And there are really some harsh financial realities in motorsport, and coming from a middle-class family, it's tough to, pay what you need to pay for a seat every year to develop your talent. So I'd say we got close to the maximum out of it. I'd probably talented enough to do some racing at a slightly higher level, but I have nothing but respect for the guys that have made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the costs for the different series. I mean, the F2000, where it starts at about $200,000 a year to actually get a seat. That is just you don't think of the lower formulas as being as expensive.
It's crazy. These costs are insane. So our costs, and we're not on that budget, but you could pay that much for a seat in the series that I'm running today, but I'm pricing it mainly on the IndyCar associated Road to Indy, those series, which is a parallel one to ours. You could pay that much money for a seat, and you get more than what we do. So we own our car. We're doing all the race, and when I say we, it's my father and I, and primarily my father. I yell at him from Florida to get the car ready, and I show up and hop in and drive. He does all the real work. I bring my helmet and make sure that looks nice for the pictures.
So you're Lewis Hamilton to his Mercedes.
That's exactly right.
I was just going to make the exact same comparison.
Well, my point is, we're not the ones that are spending $200,000. We're the ones that are just trying to get to the track. Our primary costs are travel costs, hotel, race entry, tires, and fuel. And if you do it out for the season, it's probably $35,000 to $40,000. But we're running with no spares, no suspension spares, no front ring, no rear wing spares. We don't have an engine in the trailer that's ready to plunk in. And as a result of that, we missed some races. So you mentioned the video where we were run into in Virginia earlier in the year. That was the first race of a 2-race weekend. And because we didn't have a spare nose and we didn't have a spare right front wheel, we packed the car up and we missed a race where people on a better budget, they'd have the car fixed and they'd be out there on the track. Our resolution to fixing things is to make money in our day jobs and put it to the race car and fix the car.
Is that like in your mind when you're racing? Like if you're, say you're quite comfortable in a position, does that make it harder to push? Worried that you might have an accident or something.
That's a great question, and I don't know that I have the actual answer to that because my reality has always been budget based. I don't know what it's like to get in the car and not worry if I come back with the steering wheel.
Of course.
I'd imagine there's some of that in there. I have it sort of in my ideas that your bigger budget gets you an engineer, it gets you spares, it gets you hospitality, but it also gets you that feeling of security that you can go out there and push to the maximum. I'm pushing pretty hard, but I do think there's probably some more there where I could push if I didn't have to worry about breaking the car.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a great point.
So talk us through one of your typical race weekends. That's probably the best way to look at it. So from getting to the track and just right to the checkered flag at the end of the second race. What goes on? How do you actually get to that point?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to start even before the weekend. And there's a cliche, a trite saying in racing where the amount of time you see the car on the track, there's probably 10 or 20 times the amount of time and labor put into the car before it gets to the track. And I think we mentioned that to you in some emails earlier.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes on just to get the car prepped. But let's skip all that because I don't even see that.
You just shout at your dad.
We'll get your dad on a show in the future and he can talk us through that bit.
He will bore you with bump steer and toe in and toe out and all this stuff. But it's stuff that needs to get done.
We'll get our friend Steve to present that one. He's just rebuilt a car. So.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, so we've done the research to set the gears in the gearbox, which changes for each track. I know that if you're familiar with Formula One, they're stuck with their gear stack, so we have adjustability there. So that's really one of the major things that has to get sorted before we go to a track. And then we're towing there. We're showing up probably a day before the schedule starts, and it's usually a 3-day schedule where you have 2 practice sessions on a Friday. You have a qualifying session for the first race on Saturday, followed by the first race. You have a qualifying session for the second race on Sunday, followed by the second race. So you're in the car 6 times on a typical weekend. Every once in a while, there's a testing day that happens before the Friday, but let's just assume that 3-day weekend. You show up Thursday, mid-afternoon, load in all the rigs, get the paddock all sorted out. We pull in with our little small trailer towed by a Ford Explorer, and we park next to the guys with the big Mack trucks that have the whole driver hospitality and everything in there. Usually get out for a track walk in the evening time as whoever's rented the track has cleared off and they're turning the track over to our organization. And you're out there with some of the other guys that are running, talking about your plans for the weekend, talking about, how does this curb look? What's the rubber buildup look like in turn 1? Just getting an assessment to your track walk when you're going around. And then right to dinner, early bed, and you're up and at it for the first practice session. And all of our practice sessions are timed, and they're recorded, and they're official. So you kind of want to make sure you're at the top of your game because they're going to post those results, and you're going to know where the pecking order is pretty quickly. And right away, we usually go out the 2 practice sessions on used tires from our previous weekend. It's a shrewd move. I mean, we don't need to be putting new tires on for practice, but you're getting in the car, you're doing an installation lap or so to make sure nothing's different from the last time out. You're checking your gauges, making sure all the critical measurements like water temperature, oil pressure, making sure everything's within the parameters. And then we can start to push. And the goal for those 2 practice sessions is for us to understand what we need to do to the car to get it ready for qualifying the next day. And we're looking at ride height, we're looking at shock package, brake bias, RPM so we can set the gears to the right points. But we're looking at a ton of different things, trying to get the car optimized for the race. Now, something that we don't do that other teams do is we have those used tires on the car. Some teams practice on new tires, which they're free to do, but they probably get a better picture of how their car is going to act on qualifying day when they're on the same tires. We just kind of have to gear the car up and set the balance for the old rubber, and then car goes out on new rubber and hope that it's not too different. When Saturday comes around, we're targeting where we need to be lap time wise, but we know that the guys up front are going to go a second quicker, so we know that the times are going to come down pretty drastically. And we're on the radio throughout qualifying with the live timing data from the pits, figuring out where we need to do to be first, to be in the top 5, to be in the top 10. And my dad's telling me that stuff throughout the session, saying, okay, you need a 151.6, get out there and do it. And that grids us for the race, and then we're doing fueling the car for the race, pumping out any excess fuel that we don't need, and sort of getting in a good headspace to get out there. And there's this before each session, we kind of have an informal countdown. It's probably an hour out from when the session starts, where we actually begin prepping the car and prepping ourselves to get in, and tire pressure, fuel, making sure there's oil in the engine, clearing out the data, getting the video camera ready to go. It's a lot of prep to make sure that the car is ready, and then you're geared up and you're getting into it, and your head is going a mile a minute thinking of all the possibilities of things that can happen on the start of the race. You're kind of visualizing, okay, I'm starting on the outside of the row. I have to get here for turn 1, position the car in whatever manner. And then all that preparation, when the green flag actually drops, goes out the window.
So the build-up's actually quite similar to, obviously in a much smaller scale than how they do it in sort of IndyCar or Formula One, but the process, as I can, from what you've described, is very, very similar. But what you said then, Dave, which sort of really interests me, is the setting up of the car that you do on the Fridays in the practice sessions. Mm-hmm. Do you just get to learn that sort of what needs to be done to the car through experience? As you've been driving it. Well, I'm getting a little bit of understeer, through the tighter turns, so we need to change this and that, or I'm not the back end's kicking out when I'm putting the power down, so there's something wrong somewhere with suspension and you've got to change things. Is that just something that you learn through experience, or is that something you pick up as you just from other drivers as well when you're talking through the weekend?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So everybody has a similar set of tools available to them, car setup tools. We're not running in a spec series, so really any part of the car is able to be adjusted, specifically shocks and ride heights and roll centers, wheelbase, suspension design. There are some things that you can't change at the track, like suspension design. I mean, that's something that gets done when you're blueprinting the car. But we can deal with the balance of the weight, front to rear, left to right. We can deal with the ride height, increasing rake. You see the Red Bulls running around like they've got their back of their skirts up. They have so much rake in the car.
Yeah.
Shock tuning is huge for us. Goal is to keep the tires on the ground and keep maximizing the contact patch. So you really have to feel, if your suspension's too hard, your wheel's probably going to be losing contact with the ground over high speed rumbles in the road, imperfections in the road. If it's too mushy, then the car's going to roll too much and it's not going to be responsive. So you have to find that balance. These are all things that you learn by doing.
Too mushy as well. It's a very technical term there, Dave. Too mushy.
Too much. It rolls too much. Well, there's one where you could enter a corner and the car can be rolling, and I'm doing the motion. And I know you guys can't see me. I'm turning into a right-hander right now. So the car's rolling over to the left. If it's too mushy, it's going to roll until it stops. It's going to reach the end of the shock travel, and then all of a sudden it's too hard because there's nothing more to travel. And that's called roll understeer, because the thing's just going to compress, stop, and then you've got no grip, and you're just going to be pushing the sidewall of the tire.
Like sailing your car around the corner.
Exactly. And that's a worst case scenario, so you'd have to go the other way. all those things, all those changes that are available to us are things that we've done in the past, and we more or less know how they're going to affect the car. But you're right, you're trying to get the ideal balance. You're trying to mitigate, oversteer, understeer, whatever you have. We mostly have an understeer by nature of these cars. It's tough to get them to rotate and turn on a dime. You can do that, but it's just you need to have the car set up pretty extremely to do that. We are also trying to understand aero. We have really rudimentary front wings and really rudimentary two-level rear wings, but they do affect the car, and they do develop a bit of grip. So, you add a couple degrees of wing, very similar to the F1 guys. You turn the knob, I would call it, that's near the front wing flaps. You add more, you take some out, depending on the balance of the car. This is a funny one, a truism that we've learned over the years. We do aero adjustments for corners that are third and fourth gear, and our car is a 4-speed forward gearbox. Yeah. So if you're in third or fourth gear and you're in a corner and the car's not the way you'd like it, you make an aero adjustment. If you're in a corner and it's a first or second gear corner and you don't like the way the car's behaving, you make a mechanical adjustment. So that's when you'd go ride height, rake, shocks, weight balance, one of those things, or alignment or something like that. It's something that we've learned over the years, and I think it mostly holds true. Of course, the wings are always developing downforce. They don't know what gear you're in, but at 60 miles an hour, maybe they're not developing as much as they would at 120, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I guess it's the same as aerodynamic efficiency in cycling, where it's related to the square of your speed. So when you're going faster, you are getting a lot more downforce than when you're going slower.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, that's completely right. And you know what? That's something that I could relate to the F1 world. We've been on tracks with really long straightaways. So what's the common move there is to take all your downforce out of the car, minimize drag. And the F1 guys can open their wing and get, what is it, 15 miles an hour in a straight line. I don't know what it is in your units. kph.
No.
We're miles per hour.
Miles per hour. Come on, we're civilized. You're not talking to Canada here.
Oh, you guys are.
Yeah,
you guys are on the freedom scale.
Yeah. Europe uses kph, and I think, as Paul just said, I think Canada does as well, doesn't it? Yeah, and Australia does as well. But yeah, we're still miles per hour. We understand miles per hour.
So small distances in centimeters, long distances in miles. It's really sensible.
Nice. Well, anyway, you'd expect from what you know in Formula One that if you took all the downforce out of our front and rear wing package, that we'd go 10, 15 miles an hour quicker, but we don't. We gain 1 or 2 miles an hour, and it's because we're going much slower. There's not as much energy or drag to remove when you peel the wings off. So we really have to make a risk-benefit calculation. Is it worth it to give yourself 1 or 2 miles an hour in the straightaway for whatever you'd sacrifice on the rest of the track? Just life is different when you're driving 140 versus driving 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, the higher the speed, as Dan just said, the greater the downforce. So what's the top speed that you get in these cars then, Dave?
Our cars are probably 145, maybe 150 if you'd have them on a wide open road. And in the organization that we run with, the Formula Race Promotions banner, I would say, they run 3 types of cars. They run a car that's similar to Formula Ford, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
That's the single seat, 1.6 liter, no wings, kind of first car out of carts for the younger kids that are coming up with. They run the series that we're running in, the F2000 series, which is just a little bit bigger of an engine in the same car with front and rear wings. And then they run the Formula Atlantic series, which is a monocoque, really big, meaty front and rear tires, more substantial front and rear downforce, and then tunnels under the floor. So that's a legitimate poop your pants race car if you push the throttle down in a straight line. They run those 3 levels, and they were kind of right in the middle of that. Yeah.
I suppose the top level sort of kind of equates like the Formula Renault 3.5s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would put it that way. In our in our ladder, it's maybe somewhere between the Formula Mazda and the Indy Lights car, if you're familiar with those. But that's a fast race car.
Just to get really geeky for a couple of seconds, Dave, what's the setup of the engine? You obviously naturally aspirated rather than turbos, I would guess.
Correct.
And,
That's correct.
And what was it like? Just like a twin overhead cam engine, or is it a specific race engine, or is it one that you can just pick up from a scrapyard that you'd find in a car?
These are theoretically scrapyard engines. Yeah, we are running the Ford Focus engine. Do you have that vehicle there?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
With the similar, it's the Ford Zetec engine.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's in the Focus here. It sounds like it's in the Ford Focus there. Just recently out of production, but you can be sourced at any junkyard. You buy it in a crate, and then push it over to our one of two approved engine builders for the series, and they can get it ready for the race car. Runs an ECU where the map is tightly controlled by the series, so the engine management system is pretty governed, and you're flashing your map every time you go out on the track to make sure that you're not trying to cheat with that.
Yeah.
Naturally aspirated dual overhead cams. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to mention about that. Oh, if they blow up, they're expensive.
Yeah. Of course they are.
How much does it cost to say like source one and get it ready to race to stick in your car?
I think they're fairly cheap to buy as a crate, maybe $1,000 or $2,000.
Yeah.
But you do have to do a bunch of work. We actually upgraded a wiring harness for a different ECU for our car this off season, and I think just the wiring harness was a couple grand.
Jeez.
So I think to get it race ready, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 incremental over and above buying the engine. I know we just had, I guess I'll give you some nerdy details on what happened to us in Indianapolis. We actually ingested a piece of metal from our throttle control rail. It actuates to open the butterflies for the throttle.
Yep.
Piece of metal broke off, got sucked down the number 4 cylinder, and was sitting on top of the number 4 piston and just getting crammed up the cylinder every time it's going up and down. The engine did not break apart. It held together. I probably shouldn't have finished the race, but I kept the car out there.
In answer to my question earlier about worrying about cost, you don't.
You got me there. There's something that happens when you put down the visor. Maybe that's when you're not thinking about your bank account. But that's like all they really had to do was get in there, fix whatever damage the piston caused, swap out the piston, and get us back on the road and fix the original part that broke, and that ended up being a $4,000 fix.
Whoa!
So the thing didn't even blow up. Yeah, we might as well just have done it big and got our money's worth.
You should have made sure it blew up, Dave. You might have been cheaper.
Where did you finish?
Yeah.
What position?
That race we went backwards. Let's see. I started 7th, and I think we ended up 15th or 17th or something. It was a rough race.
It was the engine problem. It was the engine. It's fine.
Yes, Fernando.
I have the F1600 engine. Is that what I need to start yelling on the radio?
Something like that. I'm not sure your dad would be so forgiving.
I thought you'd turn up at the next race and it'd have fitted one.
That's right.
So, when's your next race?
We are going to Summit Point in 3 weeks. That's in West Virginia, here in the U.S. It sounds like it's out in the sticks, and it is. But it's a cool racetrack that's been around for a long time. I was actually just watching a video on Amazon about Paul Newman's racing career. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Paul. Paul did a lot of racing in the Northeast and Lime Rock, and there's a lot of video of him driving at Summit Point in that documentary. It's called Winning.
Funnily enough, one of the executive producers on that, I think, was, would you believe, the sponsor of Formula Lee, Dave from Ultraflix.
Oh, well, there you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. I know that was an Adam Carolla project too. But,
Dave works a lot with Adam Carolla, and Dave is sort of behind the prizes for Formula Lee. So we are one big community.
We are indeed.
I like it. Well, that was great. That was a really cool doc, and it was interesting to see that. And like I said, showed a couple clips of where we're heading in a few weeks to Summit Point.
I'll definitely have to look out for that and do some research before the race. I've noticed that you posted a few videos up. Well, you sent us a few videos before and we put them on our YouTube channel, the ones that you've sent. Is there any way of seeing the whole races from your series? Does the series broadcast them, or do they share them on YouTube or anything like that?
Yeah, there's not a traditional like a television broadcast, but they do post videos on the series website, and that is f2000championshipseries.com.
That's what we
You
wanted,
can also-
Dave.
That's great.
We'll link that as well. with
Yeah,
the
we'll
show.
put a link. We'll put a link to that because obviously we've set your page up on our site for all your race reports.
Yeah, and actually the guys that are interested in checking that out, from there you can also easily pop over to the F1600 series website and to the Formula Atlantic series website, so you can check out everything that runs under that sort of 3 formula banner. Cool cars and kind of something for everybody.
Good stuff.
Are there any sponsors that you need to give a shout out to?
Ooh, I wish. We like 4 wheels.
Would you like to request for any
I was going to
sponsors?
say, if there's any sponsors you want, here's your chance.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've shared with you guys the realities of this, and it's tough to do it on a family budget, and I'm lucky to be able to do it. But a sponsor would make things a lot easier. I'm not here to ask for money.
I
But,
suppose
yeah.
either in terms of cash or hotel rooms, tires, things like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
all of those things help. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I mentioned to you guys, all of those 3 travel, hotels, tires are the biggest costs of the race weekend because I don't crash. I never crash.
We've got videos to prove it.
Yeah. People
But if you wanna see
might
a
crash
crash
into
video-
you.
Yeah, that's right.
Dave,
if you want
did
to see
I-
a crash,
Oh,
find
sorry,
my
go
YouTube.
on. What's your YouTube there, Dave? Just before I cut in again.
I don't get the URL that you guys got. You could search Dave Daddario on YouTube, and you can find me there, or we can link to it somewhere. But I do have a stupid crash that I did in Palm Beach,
Oops.
2015, where I just kind of drove off the road. So if you want to see what that looks like, that's
I'll see if I can find that and share that one as well.
Yeah, why not? Dave, I was just going to say, if I see you mentioned on your list Watkins Glen. Have you raced at Watkins Glen in the past?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Don't suppose you know what your times were comparable to the F1 cars that were racing around there in the 70s?
I think they ran a slightly different configuration,
Right.
But you know what? I must have done that in the past and looked at that. I'm doing a quick Wikipedia.
Here he goes. He's doing our equivalent of what we left-handed Googling during the podcast. Dave is now Wikipediaing during the interview.
Yeah, we used to having Sean Kelly on as a guest, and he just has an encyclopedic knowledge of everything. So.
Yeah.
Maybe we shout out Sean. He probably knows the pole lap time in the 1975 U.S. Grand Prix, right?
Yeah,
Probably,
Sean, if you're listening to this,
yeah.
let us know.
Probably.
Yeah,
So I'd have to do some research. They ran a similar course, or they ran the course that we ran starting in 1971. So there may have been some overlap where they had a U.S. Grand Prix and ran on the same configuration. Prior to that, slightly different configurations. And then I see that NASCAR course. The NASCAR guys just ran there this weekend, and they run most of the track, but they cut off the best part.
I noticed.
Oh.
I noticed it was one of the I think it's 2 NASCAR circuits where they actually turn right, but there was more left turns than right ones.
Yeah, when you look at it, it almost just looks like an oval with some kinks in it. What
Yeah.
they ended up driving.
What's your favourite track you've raced on?
Great question. I do want to give some closure to the Watkins Glen one to give you an idea of speeds. We run about a minute and 50 seconds around Watkins Glen, around the large course, and when the Indy cars went there close to last year, they were just under 130. So the Indy cars, full scale, real deal racing,
Yeah.
about 20 seconds a lap quicker, which is, it's them getting around the corners, it's them getting down the straightaways a lot faster.
Of course, yeah.
Still a dance like quicker than we could do in any formula.
Yeah, that's right. I think Watkins Glen is up there on my favorite track list, and my favorite tracks have sort of changed in the last few years. We went to Road Atlanta starting in 2014, and that is a really cool track with a corner that takes some getting used to. So I don't know if you're familiar with Road Atlanta from video games.
Yeah.
Really cool downhill S's section that gets your attention and kind of scares you a little bit the first couple of times. But then the very last corner, you're coming up a hill, and you know the road ends up turning to the right eventually to get to the start line. And in our cars, you're so low to the ground, you're looking straight at the sky. You come under a bridge, and the road drops away from you, and you can't see anything for a split second. And you've got to kind of just find where the road may be.
Just guess.
And yeah, the second and third lap, you can do it just fine after you know where to position the car. But the first time, it's easy to miss. And actually, the first lap I did at Road Atlanta, I did with my dad in a Mazda 2 rental car that we had for the weekend. You do a little street car ride around to sort of figure out where everything is as part of the track walk. And I had a million laps on Road Atlanta, on the Forza, on iRacing and everything. So I'm showing off to my dad. I'm like, this is where you have to be in the chicane. This is where you have to be in turn 5. Turn 7, you got to be here. And I get through the little chicane leading up to this blind corner. We're going up the hill, and I'm looking at the sky, and I'm thinking, oh, man, I don't know where I have to be here. Putting the rental car down an escape road on the side of the track that wasn't even part of the track, really far from the racing line. And I'm sitting there kind of shaking in my hand, and my dad looks over to me. He's like, you sure you got this?
Everybody knows, it's a well-known fact, rental cars are the fastest cars in the world. Because you will never redline your own car.
Until you get stuck behind one.
Yeah.
Oh, that is great. Dave, I want to say a massive thank you for joining us this week. It's really good insight into what it takes to get into racing at any level, really. And just going to put the appeal out again. If anyone wants to sponsor Dave in any way, shape or form, get in touch with us and we'll put you in contact.
Yeah, and I've just got one last question for you, Dave. What's the one piece of advice you'd give to anyone who's thinking about getting involved in low-level motorsport?
Spend some time in go-karts, for sure. If you're going to rent a go-kart or if you're going to buy your own and drive it in a local series, spend some time there. It's the best way to learn. Rental karts are fun, but they don't count. You got to get yourself in a real one. They feel completely different. They will teach you everything you need to know about car control. Go-kart, and then if you can get your hands on some data acquisition to analyze your driving after you've done it, do that, and that'll go a long way. You'll be miles ahead of your competition if you can master that sort of stuff.
There you go. Wise words from the man himself, Dave Daddario. Thank
That's
you very
great.
much, Dave.
Thanks so much for joining us, Dave, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon, and good luck at the next race, and we'll put an update up on the website.
Guys, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Well, thanks for that, Dave. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed chatting to Dave there.
We didn't.
We didn't?
Not just then.
We did.
I'm not good at this.
We know. You keep zoning in and out. I mean, 1 minute you're here and you're talking, and the next minute you're like 3 hours ago.
I blame Adrian Newey and his flux capacitor.
Blame drugs.
Fair enough.
Yeah, those paracetamol. Yeah. Right, it's Total Shunt time.
Right, go.
Total shunt, total shunt. Everybody is a total shunt. Dave Daddario lost his nose cone in a crash. Look out, Dave's not a total shunt.
Topical.
Topical because of tonight's guest.
Who definitely happened.
Yes, of course it did.
Right, someone's gone fucking well.
Who's this from?
This is from Cody Coretti?
Cody Correct.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Regular tweetist.
Yes. And
Hello, Cody.
I'm not going to say anything about it because that'll spoil it. But he has given you 20 questions.
Oh, good God, it's literally is a game of 20 questions,
It
like off
is.
of the 70s.
Who's the biggest shunt ever?
Yeah, so
it's up to you if you want to condense it.
well, I don't think I will condense it. I think I'll just keep going, and if you get it, you get it. Yeah? So,
All right.
But we'll do the
amount of preparation that goes into this, including Lee reading the total shunts.
So we'll do...
Question
five,
1
5.
All right, okay, so
Yeah.
first clue after 5.
Second clue after 5. Second clue, finish questions off, then you can pick one out of those.
All right, okay.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. And to be perfectly honest, he's been an absolute bell end with your first question. 'Cause I am a series champion, moving swiftly on.
I'm a series champion.
Not Max.
Yeah.
Aren't you Max Chilton?
My nicknames are Happy and the Closer.
Happy. As in, like, one of the seven dwarves.
And the closer, as in maybe a hitman?
Well, the only people I've ever heard of, I think, that are nicknamed the closer have all been baseball pitchers because that's like a role.
And in racing terms, like, nicknames are usually ironic. So Happy, I'm looking for somebody who's grumpy.
Could be some tossy business thing. Isn't that like that business thing? Like ABC, always be closing.
Yeah, Glengarry Glen Ross, that kind of salesman you want to punch in the face.
I am 41 years old.
And you don't look a day over 39.
No.
41. So someone like Juan Pablo Montoya, around about the same age.
Yeah, possibly.
Around about Montoya's age. So
Dear Chris, pass me those glasses, please. This is getting
yes,
difficult.
this is. You can probably, if you've not got a zoom in function on your swanky Apple laptop.
Not on the. It's fucking Twitter, innit?
Right. Okay. Fine.
Don't you have to press like Apple Control Function X32C?
No, you just pray to
and
Steve
pinch?
Jobs.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, you just pray.
He will come back one day and save us all.
Yeah, but he will make sure that you bought like an iWatch as well. I think that's the thing. That if you haven't bought an iWatch, you can't use the prayer.
Right.
Never mind.
I pray.
I have 35 wins in nearly 600 races.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of races.
It could be Lando Norris.
It's not 41.
That could be Juan Pablo Montoya
Yeah,
still,
we're
couldn't
still on Juan Pablo Montoya territory.
Yeah, it's that's all of the races he's probably done over the various series and
Serai?
and disciplines. There you go.
But of course, it's just someone related to motorsport, not necessarily a Formula One driver.
No, but that's my obvious go-to at the moment. I mean, it's not usually the obvious go-to. That we'll have a clue soon, which will steer us away from that. But that's the kind of person I'm thinking at the moment. Multi-discipline,
Yeah.
plenty of wins, and has won a championship at some point.
I've just realised if I keep the screen where it is now, I've got all the questions, and I still don't know who it is. So we're all playing and learning together. Ooh.
Parenthood's really affected you, hasn't it?
Yes. My top division career started early because of another driver's death.
So replaced a dead driver
Yeah.
in the top division. Well, Premier League.
How old's David Coulthard?
Yeah, he'd be about that, wouldn't he?
Would he have drove 600 races?
In various series.
Yeah.
Various Serai. For the second time tonight, when I went to the David Coulthard Museum, there was a lot of old cars and carts there from different classes.
Which of those series did he win?
British
This is
Karting
six.
Championship.
Oh, this is 6 now,
Yeah,
is it?
so I should
Right.
have asked for a
Formula,
driver.
I think it was Formula Renault Championship.
Should we put down David Coulthard for now?
Yeah.
And if it still sounds like JP Montoya, we'll go back to that in a bit.
Because we do get more than we can take more than one note. And everyone's now deaf.
Sorry, people.
Thanks, Lee.
Oh, well, I do try.
Right, so first written
guess.
down thing.
David Coulthard. Or Coulthard, as Murray Walker was first saying when he came up on the scene.
Can we just say DC?
Yeah,
We could just say Tard. Moving on. I only race in my home country.
Now. I only race in my home country. See, that sounds to me like somebody possibly American.
Because I don't fucking know who this is,
Yeah.
I will allow you to change that last
No,
guess.
Well,
not at all. Because I only race or raced.
I only race.
So that rules out Montoya.
Rules out David Coulthard.
Rules out David Coulthard.
Rules out every Formula One driver.
It could also be a team rather than a driver.
That is true.
Yeah, could be. Could be looking at IndyCar, NASCAR sort of territory.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Aussie supercars.
Someone like Jeff Gordon. Although I think we've had Jeff Gordon in the past. I'm
Even,
not sure.
even like ice racing, it could be someone like that.
You're just mentioning Thunderbird puppets now.
That's Jeff Tracy.
Jeff Gordon, Scott Virgil.
Oh, good God.
Yes, my lady.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, are you Brains Parker?
I don't know yet. I don't. We're going all the way to the end because I won't know.
I thought you were asking Lee if he was Brains Parker.
I've never been described as Brains, my friend.
You got the glasses right this minute.
This is true. I do like these glasses, but they've got a big scratch on the lens. I can't wear them properly anymore. They were my work glasses.
Continue.
Sorry. I've 7 national go-karting championships.
7.
Go-karting's a series.
Still, do you know what? That still says to me David Coulthard. He now might only race in Scotland because he can't be arsed leaving. Or at least the UK.
I only race in my home country. Screams. That's the only place this person or thing has ever raced. This is fun. I've never been on this side of the fence before.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. That's not giving us an awful lot to go on. 7 national go-karts. That's a lot before you moved up an echelon.
Unless you do multiple ones in the same year.
Yeah, but
you got one.
how many national karting championships can there be in one year without leaving a
the-
nation?
Yeah, there's definitely
150cc, 200cc, 75cc, 250, 300.
Yeah.
Pick a engine size.
Yeah, usually you get juniors, don't you, which is anything from 75 to 125, and then the seniors, which is up to 250, I think. And then you've got the stupid supercarts, which is up 350, and possibly, I don't know if they go any more than that, but
No.
definitely 350s.
No, these are the go-karts with aero.
Yeah.
Where are we? In 2015, I finished second in the championship with 13 second-place finishes.
So 2015, so we are only 2 years ago. So a 39-year-old who finished it. I reckon someone like Jeff Gordon. Give me IndyCar, NASCAR leg ends from America.
NASCAR, you're on your own. I can name
Dale Earnhardt.
and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
It might be Dale Earnhardt Jr. Oh, it's probably older than that now. I don't know.
I'm just waiting for Dale Earnhardt III.
The return of the Earnhardt.
I was going to say that's the Earnhardt's Return of the Jedi.
Earnhardt.
He's going to be the best one.
Earnharder.
I was just going to say Dale T. Earnhardt. Earnhardt with a vengeance.
Oh dear, nearly spat my tea.
Are we ready for another clue?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have won the 3 biggest races in my series.
Indy 500.
That sounds like an IndyCar driver.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So you got the Indy 500. They got 250 as well, haven't they, somewhere? I'm not into Indy. Sorry, people.
I'm just trying to think of sort of notable ones. But now then, no, I'm thinking NASCAR because
Daytona
you've got the
500,
Daytona
Coca-Cola 600.
and the Brickyard 500 at Indy.
Sounds like the possessed.
There you go, NASCAR.
Right, so it's a NASCAR driver. So
Jeff Gordon or Dale Earnhardt.
Jeff Gordon or Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I thought you were only interested in professional motorsport.
Know thy enemy.
Right.
Continue. Oh, do we have to give another guess yet? Is it
Yeah, might as well.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah.
It's not the first one anyway, is it? The one
Oh, Richard Petty. That's another one because he had a computer game in the 80s, and I got really bored of it because of
yeah,
what
in the
turning
80s.
left.
He's not going to be 41 if he had a computer game in the 80s. He would have been 12.
There might be a Richard Petty Jr.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Do you know what? You can have 4 guesses with there being 20 questions.
If it's a NASCAR driver, we're going to use up
Yeah,
half of them because
They're going to be Dale Earnhardt or
Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Dale Earnhardt III or Pitt the even younger.
Jeff Gordon.
Pitt the glint in the milkman's eye.
Well, there's 550 IndyCar drivers on the circuit, isn't there?
At any given time.
Yeah.
Half of them are in cars.
The other half are on fire.
Yeah.
My main sponsor is an alcohol manufacturer.
Bud.
Why?
Oh, hang on. Yeah, Dale Earnhardt has always had Miller sponsorship.
Yeah, and you usually get Bud Light, don't you, or sponsorship and stuff in that.
No, he said alcohol.
I like a Bud Light.
So did Dale Earnhardt get his
No,
big
not Coors
break
Light, but I'll be smashing
because
some
His
Dale
dad-
Earnhardt Jr. get his big break because someone died?
Yeah, his dad.
No, because he was racing in that race.
Oh.
Unless his big break was that he won it. But no, he was racing at the same time as his dad.
Do we think it might be Jeff, the other one that we know?
Oh, well, isn't there a Robbie Gordon as well? Or was he
I don't
IndyCar?
No idea. You're asking the wrong person.
Either way, there's too many first names going around as full names in my eyes. Can't be trusted.
Do we need to put another guess in now?
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
Oh, can we have another clue, please?
No more than 2 engine manufacturers have been in my cars.
Chevy and Ford.
I think we're sort of decided that it's got to be an IndyCar driver.
Well, NASCAR.
NASCAR, yeah.
NASCAR.
Are we NASCAR?
Next.
We reckon NASCAR?
I think we're locking in on NASCAR because
That's always Chevy and Ford.
what's the
IndyCar?
biggest IndyCar races? There's the Indy 500. Name 2 others.
Well, there's like the Grand Prix of Toronto, and there's the one at Long Beach, which I think is still called the Long Beach Grand Prix.
Wouldn't the
but
Daytona be a big deal?
in NASCAR? Yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the so
Well, yeah, we
Yeah.
said the 3 big NASCAR races straight off because the Daytona 500.
isn't the Daytona Indy?
No,
Ah, right, okay.
no, the Daytona 500, the Coca-Cola
600.
600, and the Brickyard 500 that is at Indy.
Right, okay, cool.
And I've got to admit, I've done a little bit of swatting up on NASCAR just in case anyone sends in a NASCAR total shunt. It's only the same as looking at the Wikipedia on this day page because the pub quiz every week has an on this day in history round.
Yeah, but I always forget.
There's absolutely nothing I can do here. I can't give it away. I can't help. I've no fucking idea.
Right.
Next.
Wow. I caused a crash where a driver flew into the fence.
All
I was
NASCAR.
going to say this.
Well, a driver.
These clues are vague at best.
That sounds to me like somebody left a car.
Yeah, I've still got nothing. I've got
It's
nothing.
someone who races on ovals.
Yeah, I've got nothing concrete, and it's just as well that the driver that flew out of the car didn't have as well.
What number are we on? 14. My side business is a sports management company.
That sounds like Dale Earnhardt to me.
Junior.
Junior.
Yes.
Senior's busy being dead.
Well, is he dead?
Yes.
Yes.
For definite?
Yes.
Yes.
Right then.
With a surname like Earnhardt, like, if you haven't got your shut-up line game down,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with you, isn't it?
I'm Dale Earnhardt.
I think we need another clue.
I'm not sure it's going to help.
No.
No, I don't think it. I think we're
My radio show is on Sirius XM.
Oh, great.
All
And then-
Sirius all the time.
Great. Another raft of radio stations that we don't get over here because they broadcast by satellite to the US.
I found it fucking great the other day. I was messing around on my little on my Bose speaker that Laura got me. Only got fucking InfoWars on it, haven't I? Saved to number 5.
Well, it was then.
next clue.
Next clue.
California is my birthplace.
That rules out most of NASCAR then.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
read. I'm gonna read that out, not like it's been written by an idiot. I was born in California.
I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. is North Carolinian, isn't he?
Is that a thing? Carolinian.
North Carolina.
Where people from
North Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
North Carolina.
Every day's a school day.
I'm not sure that's a real thing, but yeah, North Carolina is a real place.
Right.
Anyway, continue because we're all about.
Oh, was that number 15?
That was actually number 16, so I'd like a guess.
What a third one?
Yeah.
Have we written Jeff Gordon down?
We haven't
Let's
written
just write
Jeff Gordon
him
down.
down.
We'll write him down.
Don't forget, you can have another one because this is fucking brick hard, isn't it?
Jeff Gordon Bleu. Anyway, continue.
Hang on. Oops. Sorry. My son's name is Keelan. I think that's Keelan. It doesn't even look like a name. It's Keean.
Kian.
Right, do we think Kian Earnhardt or
Kian Gordon.
Kian Gordon?
Either would work. I mean,
Continue.
Oh, info. My Daytona 500 win was in 2007. So it's a redneck.
So we guessed right about NASCAR.
Yeah. Do we get half a point for that?
Nope.
Next.
2014 was my first and so far my only championship.
So it's not Dale Earnhardt Jr. because I'm pretty sure he's won others.
Pretty sure Jeff Gordon has as well, to be quite honest with you.
How are you up on your numbers? Because I've got question 20 here. It's going to lay a number down for you.
Go on then.
Go on.
My car number is number 4.
That makes it sound like Jeff Gordon to me, but I don't actually know.
Isn't Jeff Gordon 2 numbers?
Possibly.
Is he like 55 or something?
Maybe.
I'm just trying to work out which Thunderbird pilot was number 4. Are you Scott Virgil?
Well, you've got another guess if you can think of another Yankee driver.
I reckon
Danica Patrick.
Whatever.
She's IndyCar, isn't she?
Doesn't matter.
She does everything. She's
Right.
she's done IndyCar and NASCAR.
I'm not sure she's a series winner though.
No.
Or 41.
Oh, she, not far off.
David Coulthard?
No.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
Maybe.
Probably not.
Jeff Gordon? Maybe.
There's
Danica
people
Patrick?
absolutely screaming at the
Yeah, American
podcast right
people.
now.
we
Yeah.
don't. We
American people who listen to Sirius XM.
All serious all the time.
I
It's-
hope that's the
So do I.
It's,
all serious all the time.
it's the radio network Howard Stern's on.
Is it?
Yes.
It's not that serious then.
2 or 3?
Tell you what, I'm going to take a scientific method of doing this.
I reckon Jeff.
I reckon Jeff Gordon.
Oh, we'll go for Jeff Gordon.
Hey, Jeff Gordon.
I am Kevin
Who?
Harvick.
Okay.
I think it's Harvick, is it? Harvick.
Yes, that's Harvick.
Yes.
Another total joke we've never heard of.
We haven't had a lot of them.
Yeah.
You type Kevin Harvick into Wikipedia and you get 2 choices. You get Kevin Harvick or Kevin Harvick Incorporated.
To be fair, Cody, like
Is that his sports management company?
It must be.
yeah, to be fair, Cody, well done because I think it's not often.
No, the idea is to stump us.
It's
and
not
we
often
stumped.
the team get beaten, and to
Ultimately.
give 20 questions and still fuck us the fuck up. Well, fucked
No,
up.
that's well played.
He
but-
won the Race of Champions in 2002.
Did he?
Yes.
That's not.
that
his
was
own-
before he was a champion.
What country was it in?
I don't know.
Because if it was outside the US, we probably would have got it if it wasn't for that.
Oh, hang on.
Is this a different Kevin Harvick?
This is no. It's the International Race of Champions, which is the North American auto racing competition.
just gonna
not
say,
not the real
is it
International
like
Race of Champions.
The World International Race of Champions held over one day in like New York.
I think it was even more American than that.
But no, it was a good one in that we didn't know who it was. But yeah, we are stumped basically. So Cody wins.
Cody
Yes.
wins.
He had one other series before that, had he? The
What-
Winston West series.
Well, while we're not talking about anything proper, I'd like to give a quick thank you to Pete Bull for sending my baby a fucking fantastic 3 legs 4 wheels baby grow, which I think we're going to take a picture of and put on the Facebook or on the Twitter.
I think we should.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really happy with that, mate. Thank you very much.
Top marks in this podcast for people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're now suing him because of use of the logo.
Just one slight issue with suing him.
What?
I sent him the logo.
So I designed it. It's my choice. So I'm now gonna take his court for everything you have.
Talking of
But-
people, is he currently leading Formula Lee?
I am just going to bring Formula Lee up. Nice segue. by
Good
the
luck.
way.
Good luck having a house to play that in by the time I'm finished.
What?
I'm going to sue him for everything he's worth. Isn't he?
Oh, I see. I thought you were talking to me. I was going to say, what are you talking about?
He'll be playing Formula E under a bridge on a cardboard PlayStation 3 by the time I'm finished with it.
You mean that's not how you do it, and that's why my times are crap?
No, Paul, it's not an excuse.
Damn. No, Pete isn't actually leading at the moment. He is in second. Bradley Chambers is currently leading with a 1:16.526.
That's too fast. Too fast. Now, I made a mistake last week with Formula Lee. I said it was the Nürburgring.
And I agreed with you. It's Hockenheim.
Yes, no, it's Hockenheimring.
Brokenheim,
because it's not it's not Hockenheim as we know it. It's Hockenheim Ring, which is different.
It's not
Pretty
the
challenging,
Hockenheim
though.
we need, it's the Hockenheim we deserve.
No, it isn't.
No
even
one,
that.
no one deserves a soulless Hermann Tilke circuit.
Yeah, it is very challenging. I think it's you know the not to give too much away, but trying to get the best speed through all the corners and not get caught out by the track Nazis is very difficult.
To be fair, Hockenheim 2.0 is probably a better circuit to have a race at. Old Hockenheim was good because it had the big long straights, but it was a bit boring.
Yeah, I liked it.
I know, it was nice to see how fast a Formula 1 car could go if you gave it a massive fucking straight line.
Yeah.
But,
Well, after we did the appeal, shall we do the mailbag?
yes, let's.
Because we've had quite a few in.
Oh, hang on. Should we just go over what Formula Lee is again? It's
Formula Lee's Hockenheim in a Renault in the dry.
Yeah. Is it Renault, is it? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it's a Renault.
Oh,
it was on
in honour of Hulkenberg, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kubica, in fact.
Kubica.
But in case you've never listened to the show before, this is on Codemasters Formula 1 2016 Select Time Trial Mode.
Yeah.
Join us at the Hockenheim Ring.
We accept times from Xbox, PlayStation 4 and PC.
And we've also had a few tweets, actually, saying, what are we going to do when 2017 comes out? And we're going to make a decision on that in the next couple of weeks.
I think we're just going to
switch... For when the first race will be, which I think should be Italy, because that was the first race that we did on 2016.
The first, I think the first race we'll do is the first race the game is available.
Well, that would be Belgium, but there wouldn't be a great deal of practice.
Can I interject with this? Is thinking out loud on the podcast here, people. So this is how well things are organised in the Three Legs Four Wheels podcast room. Should we not run two just for a couple of races as 26? Because then that puts too much pressure. I think it puts too much pressure on everyone else to go and buy 2017, and the people who got 16 obviously can't compete.
It's what we did last year, isn't it?
Well, no, because we just started mid-season when it came out.
Oh God, yeah. See.
We'll think about it and we'll get back to you.
We'll think about it, and we might actually run two championships, do 2016 till the end of the season, and run a 2017, start 2017.
Law of diminishing returns. One championship to rule them all.
I thought surname was Kermode.
But that was quite fast. That. But what I'm thinking is, see if we start it straight halfway through the season with the new game, we get the back half of the season with the new game. Then next year we get the front end of the season with the new game, and then we switch over.
Why don't we? Here's a revolutionary idea. Put a poll on social media for how many people would rather switch over straight away.
Yes.
That's a fine idea.
Keep 2016 till the end of the year.
Fine idea.
And then we will go with the majority. I will put the poll up this week, and you have got until the 25th of August when the game comes out.
Fucking brilliant.
How about that?
Let's communism the fuck out of it.
Well, what I would say is if we're changing the game that we're using, then we should close off the championship when we change the game.
And then start a completely fresh championship.
Yeah. So
Okie
no one's being forced into.
That's a good
anything.
plan.
So,
unless everyone just goes unless the vast majority of people go they're buying 2017.
Bearing in mind we've had I think something like 94 entries into this year's and 102 overall.
Codemaster should be giving us a kickback for this.
Bloody should. Anyway, mailbag.
Right.
Thank you to everyone that sent in emails, Facebook messages, Twitter messages.
Now's the
and
time to do it.
General
Summer break.
questions.
Yeah.
We've got another show next week that we desperately need things to fill.
Yeah.
So
we like speaking to people. Who would have thought people that have got a podcast that have got the time to sit in a room and do a podcast for a whole evening? Who would have thought that they don't speak to a lot of people? It's nice to get outside contact, isn't it?
It's almost like we're human.
only under adult supervision.
Yesterday I wept because I thought somebody cared about me.
So, Mark Lockwood, first one.
Hello, Mark.
Regular listener, Man United fan, but hey, nobody's perfect. As a former IndyCar fanatic who was burned by the split in American open wheel racing when there became two IndyCars and it all got very messy.
That was Carton IRL.
Yeah.
How was he burnt? Did they cut them apart with like a blowtorch or something?
Possibly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He tried to cauterise the wound and it just went badly wrong.
Come on, champ.
I began to follow when Juan Pablo Montoya made the move. Likely for that reason, I consider him the most talented F1 driver in the last 20 years not to win a title. How far off am I?
No, I think
Not very far
No,
off.
no,
at all.
not far
In
off
fact,
whatsoever.
You are 100% accurate in my opinion.
The only driver who could possibly rival him would have been Kimi Raikkonen, was it not for that McLaren basically gifting him that 2007 championship.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as Raikkonen won a title, then
Then he stopped being eligible for the best driver never to win a title.
Juan Pablo Montoya, definitely the most aggressive and probably the fastest driver never to become world champion.
Is Juan Pablo still the highest point scorer without a world championship?
I think he is.
Yeah. It's the only reason.
Even with the new points system.
Yeah, the only reason that might have changed is because of Barrichello carrying on till he was 105. But I always thought that all Juan Pablo really missed was, unfortunately, he came into Formula One when Ferrari it was unfair, wasn't it, towards Ferrari at times?
Ferrari International Systems.
Yeah. BMW didn't quite get it together as much as they could with Williams, and if I'm perfectly honest, that was the couple of years when no one was really challenging Ferrari properly, was it? Over the course of a whole season.
Yeah.
Because Juan Pablo was second, wasn't he, to him that year?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the year after that, Jenson Button was closest in the BAR.
Yeah.
So it just shows how far away the rest of the teams were to the fucking red cheating cunts. What? Sorry.
Next one is from Ryan. This is on Twitter.
Hello, Ryan.
Why do you guys suspect Haas still have no sponsors after being a relatively successful team compared to Sauber, Marussia, Caterham, etc.?
Drivers are about as marketable as an old soggy shoe.
They do have a little bit of sponsorship because I noticed Grosjean has brought his Microsoft sponsorship over with him.
Maybe Gale's Honey could get on board.
But Haas the F1 team is just a big advert for Haas Automotive, which is an actual parts manufacturing company. And it's just there.
I think Gene Haas is a very astute businessman and won't allow any sponsors on the car just for the sake of sponsorship.
Yeah,
if he wants to slap sponsors on a Haas car, he's got God knows how many entries in the NASCAR series where those cars you might be able to see some paintwork under the sponsors once every 6 races.
I'd also argue as well that as far as sponsorship goes in Formula One at the minute, it doesn't seem to be massively easy to get sponsors on cars, and Haas aren't a competitive team.
With a name, when you've got a name like McLaren that doesn't have a title sponsor.
Yeah. But I think the other thing as well is that sponsors like to be tied to drivers. They like to be in the same way as the reason Jenson Button is still tied into McLaren there, so he can go wear suits and go to Johnny Walker things, isn't it?
Shandon these days. Force Injury have got the Johnny Walker.
Yeah. I can't see Romain Grosjean or K-Mag being top of the list for sponsors.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think Grosjean has brought the Microsoft sponsorship over with him. They're still sponsoring Renault, but Haas have got some form of Microsoft sponsorship as well, which Lotus only got with Grosjean.
Yeah.
So I think that's their. He's brought the sponsorship into.
Lotus had the Microsoft sponsorship on where before that, didn't they? Oh, no, it wasn't it? Because it was Kimi and Grosjean, wasn't it? There?
Yeah,
that's what came on, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Haas do have, or the drivers have sponsors that do things around the team, but they just don't put them on the car.
Yeah, I mean, we know how successful Ron Dennis was in trying to get Kevin Magnussen Danish sponsorship when he was still
Didn't bring home the bacon.
Didn't bring home the bacon, no.
He tried to get Lego on board, and Kevin Magnussen looks like a real-life Lego man.
Exactly.
So if you can't market that...
Suck my square balls.
I did see a wonderful picture put together with... old Formula 1 drivers and new Formula 1 drivers, and one of them was Ayrton Senna saying, if you're no longer going for a gap, If you go from
Yes, that was amazing.
The contrast with Kevin Magnussen just saying "suck my balls."
Kevin Magnussen, 2017.
yeah.
The other question that Ryan's got is: do you guys think that more American support would be beneficial to Formula One?
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to come anyway with the Liberty ownership. He also adds, "I'm American. If that wasn't obvious, I listened to you guys whilst I patrol round in my squad car.
Oh wow.
Patrol safely when you patrol."
Yeah. Always patrol with 3 legs, 4 wheels. You're allowed to listen to podcasts in cop cars. Is that what?
Well, we have people that listen to us in combine harvesters, so
That's private land.
To be fair, he didn't state police. He might be a gang member.
It was said squad car.
Just
it could be Suicide
roll
Squad.
with a squad.
But hi to everyone listening to us in Ryan's car.
Yeah.
Sat in the front or in the back.
Yeah,
It's all good.
If you're sat in the back and you're feeling a little bit dejected because Ryan's put the cuffs on you or whatever, or whatever.
even if he's not a cop.
Yeah.
You've got a few days when you're doing nothing now.
Yeah.
Listen to our podcast. It's
Yeah.
good.
Just tell you what, take a deep breath right now in 3, 2, 1, and your life is pointless.
And if you're not a policeman, big up to you and your homies.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's do that.
Daniel Ferris sent in the next one.
All right, Dan.
My question is, if you could change one thing in Formula One, what would you change?
Oh, I love this question. It's so good.
Sorry, what was it?
If you could change one thing in Formula One, what would you change?
Stroll.
No, I was going to say Ericsson.
They would be able to race at Laguna Seca.
Now, Laguna Seca would be a great circuit to see.
It's my favourite circuit.
Yeah.
An
Anywhere.
F1 car doing the corkscrew.
Yeah.
Was it 11 stories you fall or something in the space of 1.5 seconds?
Yeah. Can my one thing be that the cars were the mock-up cars that we saw last year?
Yeah, or that one like I showed you before
Yeah,
with the.
No! I want zero gravity.
You want Wipeout?
I do want Wipeout.
What's the one thing you would change, Paul?
I would. What would I change?
Right now, I would make cars louder. I would make them sound like they did in 1992.
You think that's the biggest thing that needs changing in Formula One?
No, but that's the one thing I would change right now.
I would. I honestly don't know.
Because when you change one thing, lots of other things change.
Actually, no, I do know. I'd get rid of DRS.
Okay.
False overtaking.
I think
know
the
what
error
I'd
rule.
change.
I think the error rules need looking at in general anyway. And I think I alluded to Brundle's tweet about the flooring, but I don't want to say, I'll change all of the error regulations, because that's more than one thing.
I don't know how we'd be affected by this, but my change would definitely be the internet.
Oh,
You just ban ESPN from reporting on Formula One.
Not just ESPN, just social media. Just take out the fucking loud, noisy minority.
My other one change.
Right, so the next Three Legs, Four Wheels podcast is just me, Dan and Chris without the fucking loud minority.
So what's your other change?
My
Dan?
other one change would be make the Honda engine decent.
Yes, that would be good.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Like a race winner engine.
So the genie says, no, forget it. I'll just see if I can get you that £1 million.
Just quickly, given some of the other things I've said on the podcast and how they might be misconstrued, could somebody not chop out the bit where I say, I think we should just get rid of the minorities?
I might have hit mute on the word loud. Moving swiftly on. No, actually, Daniel says that the thing he'd change is bring in 2 more teams.
But
If
they
you
were
bring in 2 more
competitive,
teams,
yeah.
they've got to be competitive. They've got to have the engine support.
They've got to follow the Haas model, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Because that is now the model, that's the way forward. Take a manufacturer's car or an established team and feed off of them for the first couple of years, and then when you stand on your own 2 feet, brilliant.
Yeah.
What we didn't touch on, sorry, but I know we're doing the mailbag, was what do you guys think about the Ferrari rumour turning Sauber into a junior team?
I think it'll be good for every major team to have a junior team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we shit on Red Bull's junior driver program,
Yeah.
but the fact that they've got a team there that they can put the junior drivers into is a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's what Mercedes were looking at doing with Manor, but not to the point where they were literally going to save them and make them Mercedes 2.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, we want a junior team, but we don't want to pay for a junior team.
pretty much, yeah.
I want 3-car teams.
We could have that again one day. It's happened before.
Yeah.
Ben Jones sent in the next one.
Hi, Ben.
Ben being Australian.
G'day.
Does Daniel Ricciardo have to win a championship before he's held in the same esteem as Jones and Brabham, or is he already there?
Ooh, that's a good question. Alan Jones, in my eyes, was never even, of the races I've seen of him, not even that good a Formula One driver. Just he was essentially right place, right time. And
To be honest, I can't remember who said it, but somebody has said in the last few years that there were about 8 drivers on that grid who would have won that title better driving that Williams.
yeah,
That's the Saudia Leyland Williams.
yeah. When it was it Tag Engine Williams?
I think it might have been. It was Tag rebranded as British Leyland,
Yeah.
which was effectively the same engine as a Mini Metro.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, look at
Austin
the-
Allegro.
Oh.
But yeah, the
No, it was an engine.
but the
It didn't have a square steering wheel.
yeah, Alan Jones, like I said, he never was prolific enough for a long period of time. He was. I'm trying to compare it to another Formula One World Championship, and I'm reluctant to compare it to Rosberg's from last year because that was a well-fought World Championship.
How about the previous Rosberg? Actually, no, because the previous Rosberg Championship was anyone could have won it up until the last race.
Well, yeah, that was
Only because of double points.
No.
the previous
Keke
Rosberg.
Rosberg's
Oh,
championship.
sorry, previous Rosberg.
Only.
I thought you meant the year before.
No, the previous Rosberg Championship.
Right.
Would maybe Lee's going to hate me for this? The Button Championship.
Where the car was, where the
Yeah.
car was just so much further ahead of any other. Yeah, that's probably a
That's
good, a
fair.
good way of putting it.
I think the other thing is when you really think about it, there's probably very few years when you look at a whole grid where the absolute best driver won the championship.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the past decade of Formula One, for instance, where you've had like Vettel won five championships, for instance. Button won a championship in the Brawn. Hamilton won a championship in 2008. You know, without thinking about recent Formula One as well. And you've always had like Fernando Alonso that just hasn't had a car. You know, it's when Lewis won in 2008, he was stuck in a fucking Renault, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, so I think even like Kimi, when Kimi won a world championship, one of the McLaren drivers should have won that championship.
Yeah, but they're too busy fighting.
Yeah.
So, like I said before, they fed it to
Yeah,
themselves.
they gave it to
The
them.
one thing I would say about Danny Ricciardo is if he does win enough races in a season and becomes world champion, he will probably be the sport's most popular world champion.
Since Button.
Probably since Jenson Button, to be quite honest with you. The most likable. You know, it's very. You get people who say they don't like Sebastian Vettel because he's arrogant and various other reasons. People don't like Lewis Hamilton because of his his playboy lifestyle. He's not really he's more. Some people say he's more interested in being a celebrity, but
When Hamilton gets up on the podium and says, "I love the fans here; they're the best,"
Yeah.
it doesn't feel as genuine as when Ricciardo gets up
No,
on top
no.
step of the podium and says,
Get the fuck
"Wow."
in.
yeah.
But I think
That's it. So but people still hate Alonso for weird reasons. Like Schumacher fans hate Alonso for ending Schumacher's glorious reign of.
Yeah.
So
Well, they should be hating trees.
exactly, but rocks. But I don't-
correcting me.
But I don't know anyone who dislikes Daniel Ricciardo for any reason.
No.
Like
Even
Max Verstappen.
Vettel likes him, and he beat him out of Red Bull.
Well, yeah, but Max Verstappen's got haters because he's an arrogant young, what's it, and he just doesn't deserve where he is at the moment.
He's an arrogant young what's it, Chris? You just sounded like a pensioner.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I was gonna have profanities coming out of my mouth, but I changed my mind at the last minute.
No, we got Lee for that.
Yeah. So Yeah, he would be the most popular champion. I think he would surpass. If he won a championship now, he would surpass Brabham and Jones. I think in terms of
I think he's already surpassed Jones without winning the championship, in my mind.
yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure what the reaction is like in Australia amongst necessarily the casual fans or people who aren't really that interested in Formula One, but know that Brabham and Jones are their two Formula One world
I think
champions.
there's no other thing as well where everybody, especially Brits,
Yeah.
everybody likes an Aussie.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and if
Well,
Have you ever met a nasty Australian?
Well, I mean, everyone likes an Aussie except for during the Ashes.
I don't like cricket. They
Mid-
can do it.
is
I
Mitch-
love it.
Yeah.
is Mitch Evans is Mitch Evans New Zealander?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also not a driver anymore. He's in Formula E.
Yeah, he's in Formula E now.
It's all
but
Australian.
it isn't.
New Zealand, Australia's Canada.
But the thing is, Australia's Scotland. The thing is, and Canada is America's Scotland.
It's okay. I'd be worried about losing listeners, but there's only 8 of them.
Denny Hulme won a world championship, and he was New Zealander. But
Bruce McLaren didn't do all that bad in F1.
no, but he didn't win a championship.
True.
But I would say that Bruce McLaren is probably more highly regarded in New Zealand, well, definitely in the racing world anyway, than Denny Hulme is, even despite the fact Denny won the world championship.
Yeah.
So
Quite right. I don't know who Denny Hume is.
yeah, but he was a world champion,
Yeah.
So that's the in the 60s as well, when you had Hill and Clark winning championships.
It's a fast name, though.
Yeah.
Denny Hume.
So yeah, it's an interesting one.
Well, if
That
we're recording in stereo now, people have got that right. It's a shame we do this podcast in mono,
yeah, we should start recording in quadraphonic sound.
remixing Lee into 5.1. No! You get a different swear word coming out of every speaker.
Can't we wait till we broadcast in VR?
Oh, I can. Right, and one more from Stephen Carroll, who sent this in earlier saying, I hope it's not too late, and he was just in time, because it was just before we started recording. He has sent in 10 questions, and
Is it
Stephen
Stephen?
Carroll is responsible for
Carroll.
me doing the live blog of Le Mans, and he knows why.
Ah.
So we want to thank him for that on one reason, and
Your mouth says thank, your face doesn't.
I drank a lot of coffee thanks to you, Steve.
He sent 10 questions.
He sent 10 questions.
Are they all yes/no answers?
No.
Oh, come on.
So I'm just going to pick some highlights.
To be fair, he did try and kill Paul.
Yeah, he did.
Least favourite F1 driver, I'm guessing of all time.
Of all time.
All time. Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, I think because he was so talented.
Yeah.
But he pushed the rules to and past the limit.
His arrogance was not. He was a great driver. Don't get me wrong, but his arrogance was just so.
Yeah. Do you know what really
Arrogant.
irritates me? Do you know what irritates me more about Schumacher than anything else?
Go on.
Is the fact that a couple less wins and one less world championship, and all we would talk about Schumacher is how he's one of the greatest sportsmen of all time. And it only takes a world championship and a few wins.
That world championship being 1994 by any chance?
Maybe.
Yeah, for a
and one world championship and not trying to kill Jacques Villeneuve.
Well, I was going to say, for a brief period of time, Jacques Villeneuve was my most hated driver, but I was a child and I was throwing things at the TV, and it was that year of the Hungarian
I
Grand Prix.
don't get the Jacques Villeneuve hate.
No, I don't hate him, but for a few minutes,
Yeah.
he was, yeah.
Oh, in 1996.
97, the Hungarian GP. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I wasn't too keen on him in '96 either. To be fair.
My reasons for not liking Schumacher are a little bit more, I don't know, the best way to describe it, esoteric. I had a boss that was the spitting image of Schumacher, and I did not get on with this guy, and neither did anybody else in the place that I worked. He was called Richard, can't remember his surname, but he wanted everyone to call him Tricky Dicky.
Oh, no.
So we all called him Wanker.
Fair enough.
And he looked like Michael Schumacher.
I'd have called him very rarely.
And no, he just wound me up for various reasons, and that's why I took
That one will do. That one is fine.
And I just took a dislike to Michael Schumacher because they looked identical.
Yeah, no, I don't hate Schumacher's success. I hate what he did to try and get extra success.
I think he is the greatest Formula One driver ever.
Oh, yeah, statistics show that, but
But
And I respect his success, but what I don't respect is him driving into Damon Hill in '94,
Yeah.
Jacques Villeneuve in '97. The amount of times that he, as you say, Dan, he bent and broke the rules and thought he was big enough to just get away with it.
I've got
And
one.
was.
I've got one which is slightly controversial because it's not actually him. It's now what he's become. I don't like, and it's Ayrton Senna. I hate the way he's looked at as some sort of fucking god now, where he was an excellent Formula One driver, but the idea that he was any better than like the top drivers of his time or the top drivers of our time is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's Kurt Cobain syndrome. Nirvana were a very good band. They weren't the greatest band of all time.
Still prefer the Foo Fighters.
But that's wrong. That's
Well, preferring the Foo Fighters.
yes. But yeah, that's I don't
I can see why you're saying that, but again, it's not necessarily his
know.
doing, is it?
Yeah. Also, one thing that is asked: least favourite F1 team. That is a tough one.
That shifts around a little bit for me.
Least favorite F1 team.
Ferrari. All they've done since the resurgence of Ferrari is fuck Formula One and fuck the fans, and somehow get lauded for it.
I'm going to say Pacific Formula One team because
Which one in Pacific?
because they should never have been on the grid in the first place. To be quite honest with you, they were so far off the pace. It was them and if you remember the Italian team 40, who were sponsored by Parmalat.
It was 40 Pacific and Simtech that were the back markers that season, wasn't it?
Simtech were the party team though. Simtech had MTV and you know them because they were sponsored by MTV.
Yeah.
MTV. Davina McCall would
With
turn
Davina
up.
McCall as our pit lane reporter.
Yeah, would turn up and follow them round, which was just weird. But they were a party team. They had a good time whilst they were in Formula One. Lola, are they villains for what happened to them?
No, because that was all pressure from the sponsors.
Yeah.
MasterCard.
Yeah, because they wanted to make their first entry in '98.
Yeah.
And MasterCard made them enter in '97, and it only gave them something like 8 weeks to develop the car.
Did they
And
race at all?
No, they went into qualifying in Australia, and it was the first year of the 107%
Yeah,
rule,
and they
or the
didn't qualify.
Rossett rule, as everyone called it. And just so happened that Rossett was one of their drivers, with Vincenzo Sospiri, the other one.
Wow, they well remembered.
And
Even his own mother doesn't know his name.
yeah, and they were 11 seconds off the pace in Melbourne.
But
And then they turned up to
fairness,
Brazil and had all the stuff impounded.
in fairness, their car looked fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, it did.
Oh, the car looked awesome, livery wise.
Yeah.
Bit of a brick in real life.
It was amazing how MasterCard never.
Hispania Racing are up there as one of the teams. Why were they in Formula One? They didn't even give it a good go.
No.
They went on to become HRT, didn't they?
Yes.
Who gave Danny Rick his first drive.
Yes.
Yeah, they did. Also brought Bruno Senna into the
I
sport.
think them. I really dislike the both HRT and Manor situation, and even Caterham, to be perfectly honest, because Caterham didn't. It shouldn't have been there. None of those three teams, regardless of how.
Under that model.
Yeah, regardless of how Marussia managed to change, and become almost competitive. But what did they get? Fucking how many points over how many years?
4 points, 3 points was it over
Something-
5
Yeah,
years?
it's
something minimal over
not
not a great deal of
Formula
time.
One team.
But bear in mind, they joined the sport and were lied to. Yeah.
Under false pretenses.
Yeah.
That they didn't end up in the sport that they tried to join.
But to be fair, even when what they were promised was said, this is how Formula One's going to be, everyone else surrounding Formula One has said, no, it's fucking not. This is never going to happen. So when you've got when you're told something, but everybody else over there is going, that's bullshit. We want to spend loads of money because we've got loads of money. Then you've only got yourself to blame, because all you're doing
is, I like what he says and I don't like what they're saying, so I'm going to listen to him.
Yeah, but the ones that they were listening to were the ones that made the rules.
Yeah.
And the ones that they were ignoring were
The ones that were
the
breaking
ones
them.
that didn't
Yeah.
make the rules.
Yeah, but the problem is they can't make the rules if they don't get on board with it.
What's the next question?
I've not answered this one yet.
Oh, go on.
Renault 2008.
Nelson Piquet Jr.
Yeah.
Crashgate.
He was almost my most hated F1 driver for a little while. And I thought, you know what? It wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
It was his fault. But what I really, really hate
Followed
about
orders.
what I
I hate
really,
the fact
really
he
hate about that
regrets.
is it casts a shadow over a lot of
Everything.
what Alonso's done.
Yeah.
Because that's
Well,
the
Alonso
second
didn't-
scandal that he was completely innocent
But
of.
Alonso
that was
didn't do
just
anything.
happening
It
around
was nothing to do with him.
I know, just like
He was visiting-
just like Spygate.
He was visiting his aunt that week, both times.
Yeah.
A man of many gates.
Mine would be it's kind of two teams, but it's sort of one team. Tyrrell 98, BAR 99, because they were the same team. Mm-hmm. Craig Pollock bought Tyrrell at the end of 97, kept the name, and then changed it to BAR.
British American racing,
Yeah.
wasn't it? With Adrian Reynard?
Yes. Completely screwed up Tyrrell's legacy in the last season by getting two absolutely pointless drivers. Oh, hang on, we're back on to Ricardo Rosset again, aren't we? And Tora Takagi, who we thought was fast, and then it just turned out that he didn't know where the brake was.
Right.
Yeah, he was Takuma Sato before Takuma Sato.
Yeah, and then
Won the Indy 500.
and then the first year of BAR, when again Craig Pollock said, "We are going to start from pole position in Australia, and we're going to win the race with an engine that isn't a Supertech." And then both cars retired from not the front row on the grid in Australia because
They had Renault engines.
their Supertech engines weren't good
Yeah,
enough. And
but
Jacques
how
Villeneuve's
could-
wing fell off.
How
but
could they go and buy proper engines and develop a proper car when they had all that money to be laundering?
Allegedly.
Thank you, Dan.
But yeah, Craig Pollock bollocksed up the legacy of Tyrrell, which was a historic team.
Yeah.
Regardless of what Jean-Marie Ballest and Max Mosley tried to do to them.
Yeah. Well, that team ended up being Mercedes. So.
BAR
It did.
though, for the
When BAR got their shit together,
yeah.
when Dave
Honda,
Richards took over and they got the Honda engines and everything was actually being done properly, they went up so far in my estimation.
Yeah.
But that last
When they were
that
lucky strike.
Yeah, but that last year of them being Tyrrell and the first year of them being BAR, that pointless season in 1999, it got to the end of the year and I just thought, you really deserve
Any
that.
other period of racing, BAR would have been fighting for championships, but
Yeah.
they were up against the impossible task at the time. Of
Was it
being
was it
Ferrari.
99 where both BARs had identical accidents at the top of Eau Rouge?
Yes.
Yes.
That was tremendous.
And
Yeah.
it was one where Jacques Villeneuve said that was the most fun crash he'd ever had.
Jacques
Going
Villeneuve
through the air.
Yeah.
Jacques Villeneuve said you could go through Eau Rouge flat. He tried. He crashed. He went back to the garage and essentially convinced Ricardo Zonta.
To do the same thing.
Yeah, he's like, I know what I did wrong. Here's what I did wrong. You go and do it. And he had the same accident.
'Cause I think Zonta did exactly
Yeah.
the same thing
Yeah.
wrong.
I still
But the
think
thing
that,
is, the year before, Mika Hakkinen said in McLaren 98, he said he wasn't sure if he could go through Eau Rouge flat at the end of the race on an empty fuel. He said, and he just about managed it. And that was in 98. The year before, then in 99, why did BAR think they could go through on cold tyres full of fuel?
Yeah.
Fools.
Not a prayer.
just quickly talk about BAR. I also hated the fact that Formula One or whoever would have been Bernie, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Stopped them having the two different liveries for the two different cars.
Oh, the
Yeah.
zip. The zip.
No, it's not even the zip because the zip's a dirty pleasure of mine. I quite like that car because of what
But
happened.
they should have been allowed two different liveries.
But they should have been allowed two different liveries. That was essentially, even back then, Formula One being so regressive to stop things moving forward a little bit. I mean, can you imagine, right, if you'd allowed different cars to come in with different sponsorship? So a certain driver, for instance, could be sponsored by a company because that company were into him. You'd have had extra sponsorship up and down the grid. That, I mean, fair enough. 2008 would have still happened, and we'd have still had this, like the economic downturn. But the fact that there would have been more sponsorship already on the grid means that there will be more sponsorships sticking around.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only reason that I am with Bernie is that I think a team should look like a team, and the two designs that they were proposing were very, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, one was white and red, the other was blue and gold.
Yeah, so they didn't look like they were
Yeah.
the same cars.
But quickly, the if we'd have had a Formula One colour, that was the 555 like rally car colours, it would have looked fucking cool.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would. Oh, it's-
Just one more from Steve's list, because this is a good one. Me and Lee were talking about this before we started recording,
go on then. Bum sex.
and we were talking about the question as well.
Right, okay.
Most memorable F1 race other than Canada 2011. I'll go with mine because I already came up with a theory on this. Australia 1986, when Mansell didn't win the title because of the blown tyre, because that was the first time I'd stayed up to watch the Australian Grand Prix, and I got into trouble because I shouted no that loud. I woke my mum up because I was 16 at the time.
Europe 1997 or 8,
Yeah,
when Johnny Herbert
John-
won it.
When Johnny Herbert won because nobody else seemed to want to.
Yes.
I think that was 99 when it rained like hell and Johnny Herbert won the race.
It would have
Yes.
been, yeah, it would have been 99 because he was
Stewart.
he was in a Stewart, and it would have been their third season.
I think
yeah,
it was 99.
99.
I think. I'm might 90. I'm wondering if it
So
might be 2000.
The race was memorable, the year wasn't.
Yeah. Mine's also going to be Australia. Australia 94. For the Schumacher Hill incident, it was on a knife edge who was going to win the 94 World Championship. Quite a few people obviously wanted Damon to win it for the memory of Ayrton Senna dying unfortunately earlier that year, but then a lot of other people said, well, Schumacher could be the next sort of big world champion. Those people were right. But the manner in which it was won was unsavoury. And then when you got over that drama and realised that Schumacher and Hill were both out of the race, and Nigel Mansell was going to win because he was so far ahead of everyone else in what was at that point third place.
Oh, and another race like that. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's my most memorable race. Where it was just like, oh, for God's sake, right, Hill's out. This is disastrous. And then once you got over that, and sort of Murray Walker caught up with everything that was going on. I mean, well, that means the race leader is Nigel Mansell. What?
Most memorable race would be Brazil 2009.
Yeah, that's the
a
one
good
I was
one.
about to come to.
Yeah.
That was a great drive from Jenson Button.
Yeah.
Great drive from Jenson Button. Mark Webber won the race, didn't
Yeah.
I
he?
think so. Yeah.
His first win.
Yeah.
If I remember right, Nelson Piquet got into a fist fight.
I think so, yeah.
With who?
Anyone that was passing.
It was whoever he'd crashed into.
I can't remember. I remember some ruckus.
Yeah.
But there's also two other Brazilian Grand Prix that are worth honourable mentions,
2008.
obviously.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's not just the fact that, like, I was quite happy to see Lewis win the World Championship. It was nice to have another British World Champion.
Yeah, and I think the most iconic piece of commentary from any Formula One race is either what Paul said before, is colossally that's Mansell,
Yeah.
or is that Glock.
Yeah.
Martin Brundle's is
Or-
that Glock. 'Cause
Iconic commentary was, no, Michael, you've done it wrong.
You've hit him in the wrong place, my
Yeah.
friend.
But the one I think is one of life's greatest pleasures is seeing somebody so elated with something, and then in front of your very eyes see it torn away from them.
That's because you're a terrible, terrible human
Right.
being.
You're just gonna say Massa's dad and leave
Yeah.
it at that. aren't you?
Essentially, yeah. To
Yeah.
see
That Ferrari guy taps him on the shoulder and goes, look at the screen.
Yeah. The and then to see Massa up on the podium giving it loads because for the Brazilians and kissing his badge and
Yeah.
it's not happening for you either, mate. Sorry. So yeah, it warms my heart, that sort of thing.
You are a sick, twisted idiot.
does, it
We
just-
knew this anyway.
It just softens that swinging brick that's between my lungs.
thank you to everyone that's sent questions in, and please do the same for next week.
Yeah, please do so.
And every week.
Yeah.
You can get,
especially for next week.
especially for next week.
Content.
Well, we've got the half-term review next week.
Yeah, we'll do a quick half-time review. You don't want to spend too long going through every single driver. And
No, we'll do our highlights of the season.
Half-term casual chat.
Yeah, just a casual chat, and maybe. Well, I'll have stories from Jersey, but will I come back with an interview? We'll see.
Tune in next week to find out.
Spoiler probably won't. But I hope you do.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So if you want to get in touch, you can email us 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. You can tweet us at 3legs4wheels.
I'm Eto Torkelson. Tweet me and tell me why I'm wrong about Ayrton Senna.
At Flood21.
At Danbert.
And at Pablo100. We've got the Facebook page, facebook.com/3legs4wheels. We're on Instagram as well. You can find us on there. Chris will be posting some stuff from his trip to Jersey, I would have thought.
I shall hopefully be posting some stuff from my trip to Jersey. Nigel Manson Museum stuff.
Yeah, definitely. All loads of pictures.
Well, yeah, depending on how many times I get told off for taking photos.
How you be allowed to take
I might not ever leave if the car that I've seen there is still there.
It should be there. To be fair, if that isn't there, it's a shit museum.
And we've also got the Patreon show as well, which you can get by donating as little as $1 a month. Just go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels, which we haven't recorded tonight's Patreon show yet, and it's 11:25. Oh, this is going to be a fun one.
Goodbye, good night, let's go.
So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Arrivederci.